പിന്നെ മണിക്കടെ तो बोलत नाहीये बरोबर
Good afternoon to one and all. Respected Dr. Alka Singh, Assistant Professor Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow, Dr. Ofire O.M. Aito, Fulbright Scholar and Senior Faculty, Department of English, Federal University, Lokoja, Nigeria, Dr. Omolola A. Ladil, Associate Professor of English, Lagos State University, Ojo, Nigeria, Dr. Jamaluddin Khan, MBBS, PGD, MCH, Government Hospital, Shahganj, Pradesh. Ms. Chandrani Banerjee, Delhi-based senior journalist and visiting faculty, IIMC, New Delhi. Dr. Meenakshi Singh, homeopathic physician, social worker and advisor, National Ayush Mission, Pradesh. Patrons of the Expressions in Languages and Arts Foundation, Lucknow, and all the people who have joined us today through Zoom and YouTube. I extend my heartiest greetings to one and all present for the International E-Seminar on Menstrual Hygiene, Textual and Contextual Perspectives. Expressions in Language and Arts Foundation is a Lucknow-based organization of academicians promoting research on Indian studies and Indology-related issues at national and international levels. It aims at compilation, translation, and conservation of different cultural texts in different Indian traditions. I now request the Secretary, Arts Foundation, Mr. Kulwant Singh, to warmly welcome our guests for the evening. Before that, I would like to request all our participants to kindly mute their microphones because the speech won't be. Over to you, Kulwant.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the members of Expressions in Languages and Arts Foundation, the Foundation Chairman and Patron of the Foundation, Professor R.P. Singh, and on my own behalf, I take this opportunity to welcome our experts, Dr. Alka Singh, Dr. Ofiro Aito, Dr. Omolala Ladel, Dr. Jamaluddin Khan, Ms. Chandrani Banerjee, and Dr. Meenakshi Singh, who, on our request, have taken out time from their busy schedules to enlighten us on today's topic of the e-seminar. We have been honored by your gracious presence. I also welcome the participants from different parts of India and abroad who have registered in huge numbers to be a part of this humble endeavor of ours. Without taking much time, I declare the e-seminar open. I request Ms. Sumedha, the co-host for the evening, to initiate the proceedings of the seminar. Thank you.
The song of Expressions in Languages and Arts Foundation is being played here. For your kind attention and reception, the song has been written and composed by Professor R.P. Singh, Chief Patron, Expressions in Language and Arts Foundation, and sung by Ms. Tulika Ghosh. Better. We appreciate your patience. I think there are some technical difficulties which we are trying to overcome to play the song.
என்னடா பவர் ஆஃப்னு வருது இங்க வா
I would request the participants to please put off their mics.
There have been some technical difficulties and we have not been able to play the song of the foundation. We'll try and play that a little later. Moving ahead, there is an important announcement. The organizers would like to request you to put your phones in rotation and in landscape mode so that your video is clearly visible. And if you ever want to leave the meeting in between, you are requested to exercise the leave meeting option that is there on the top right corner of your screen, and not just close the screen, because that will not end the that will not stop the application. The organizers would also like to request you that after the end of the seminar, when there is a question answer session, you're requested to direct your questions towards particular panelists, and write the name of the panelist at the end of your question or right after it, so that it is easier for us to ask questions and pass them on. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Alka Singh, is an assistant professor at Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University and has done her postdoctoral research from Paris, France. Her areas of research, teaching, and doctoral supervision are English for specific purposes, communication studies, gender and culture, Canadian literature, new literatures, Indian studies, law and literature, and English for aviation and language through literature. Ma'am, a recipient of 6 awards for academics, women's cause, and creative writing, also has a number of publications to her name, besides being a regular contributor to many national and international journals. She has written books on postmodernism, women empowerment, women's issues, inclusions and exclusions, and women's society and culture, to name a few. Dr. Singh is also the media spokesperson for Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University at Lucknow. Ma'am is present here today to enlighten us on the topic health, habits and patterns, menstrual hygiene and textual portrayal. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sumedha. Am I audible, Sumedha? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from India. This is Dr. Alka Singh from Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, India. Heartiest welcome all the participants, and a very warm afternoon, of course, in India. And I'm sure my friends sitting abroad must be at different times of time settings and space. They have joined us on a very pertinent and important issue that we are going to begin, and that has taken the shape of an international seminar on menstrual hygiene, textual and contextual perspective. Today, of course, we are celebrating this beautiful subject towards celebration of International Menstrual Hygiene Day. Let me begin. Let me begin this discourse after finding such a beautiful gathering of the scholars and people across the globe towards understanding and making a working analysis of how this stigma or menstruation or menstrual stigma has gone on into the into the minds and conditioning of the individual for not naming it as such as menstrual period under which the period that women undergoes every month for 3 to 5 days. Thank you once again, Expressions in Languages and Arts Foundation, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, for beautifully conducting and organizing this wonderful international e-seminar on such an important and pertinent subject. My learned fellow scholars, students, the viewers, the listeners, the stakeholders would surely, would surely now somewhere at some point of time would undergo to find out that how this particular terminology itself has all of a sudden become so important, and a talk taken in the form of the different discursive languages in this society, and is finally shaped in the form of celebration or celebrating International Menstrual Hygiene Day. I would rather begin like this, that how menstruation stigma, or why it is a stigma, or why don't we call menstruation by its name? Of course, we celebrate figures of speech. We have a bunch and set of corpus of literature and ideas that beautifully in the form of euphemisms serve a purpose, and they give us the words to talk about things that are considered culturally or perhaps historically, or maybe with some kind of roots into the anthropology, the textual understanding of an individual, that allows to speak that the impact of typical menstruation taboos or the typical menstruation taboos is clear, and typical menstruation taboos can lead to significant challenges in menstrual management, adverse reproductive health outcome, social ostracization, disease, and even death. Let me begin the subject by just sharing with you the thought processes I have been through while taking the subject for the purposes of discussion as part of such a formal academic fora. Perhaps one of its very unique initiative that a country like India has initiated, and I must congratulate Expressions in Languages and Arts Foundation, that they have been towards this unique endeavor to establish that something which is not actually being talked about, or which we do not allow to be talked in freely, talked in a free manner in the society. That means we reinforce the idea that the things should not be named as it is. And that, of course, they have brought the squint mentality, the squint vision, that have allowed people for several years to adapt or to be adaptive of the phrase menstruation, or stigmatize the term menstruation in the various perspectives, and conditions individuals to understand that menstrual function as something to be hidden, or something which is shameful. But then looking at the dynamic initiative by the foundation, I would rather say that that menstruation stigma is actually a form of misogyny. You would see that, and this perhaps inspires or elevates our heart and mind, of course, and automatically to go into the roots of mythological morphology of menstruation. It also takes us into the roots of history, anthropology, sociology, and of course the history in language. I'm sorry. My learned colleagues, audience, and scholars, you would agree with me that the researchers all across the globe, in history, in culture, in literature, they have somewhere interpreted the subject, or interpreted, or I would rather speak more appropriate, a term from the pre-agriculture, pre-modern brain, or pre-language definition of the menstrual period, or menstruation, or women under menstruation, as taboos. And in the very first Latin encyclopedia, which was actually published in 73 AD, if I'm correct, as far as I remember the date of its publication, there is a very important phrase which was mentioned in this particular encyclopedia, which says that contact with menstrual blood turns new wine sour, crops touched by it become barren, grafts die, seed in gardens are dried up, the fruit of trees fall off, the edge of steel and gleam of ivory are dulled. They are dulled. Can you just imagine? This is encyclopedia, the knowledge volume that quotes that a menstruating woman who touches the edge of a steel, a metal, ivory, they are dull. They become dull. They are of no more an attractive entity for an individual, or a matter of utility for an individual. And the encyclopedia speaks further that hives by the bees, hives by the bees, they die. Even bronze and iron are at once seized by rust. Can you imagine that? They say, or the prehistoric times, the pre-cultural setups, pre-linguistic setups, pre-modern agricultural setups, because we know that human evolution, perhaps the origin of the humans, if we date back to the 200 million years ago, perhaps to an extent, it seems that this is how the phraseology of the taboos related with menstruation may have taken shape, and the different constructs to narrate us the different stories that we have today as part of literature and culture. My learned friends today who have joined us would be interested to share with me, their thoughts, their experiences, once they will come to know that any knowledge volume can ever quote a phrase like this one. And I further remember from the same encyclopedia that it also tells the horrifying stories, the horrifying smells. It writes that it has horrible smell that fills the air, and to taste it, that is to taste the menstrual blood, or to taste or even a biting of a woman or a girl who undergoes menstruation. And if a dog bites this woman, if any animal bites this menstruating woman, a girl, a female, then it goes into the phase of madness. And this encyclopedia also further elaborates regarding the infections that these bites of the animals, they take with an incurable poison. It is also very interesting to share with you all today, since we are celebrating International Menstrual Hygiene Day, that menstruation actually far predates even language ingredient. You see, of course, the origin of life, the evolution of man is actually before the setups of the language itself. And you see, our lives as the earliest evolving humans were actually centered around the survival, reproduction, biological functions, birth, death, sex, hunting. And these elements were actually central in shaping language, not the other way around. And that's where the anthropologist, the cultural analyst, and the people concerned, the scholars concerned, have done their researches into menstrual taboo. It is actually the evolution out of the intersections of the evolution, behavior, and biology. I would also like to speak a little bit on a very ancient Egyptian medical text. And these ancient Egyptian medical texts, including the text contributed by Kahun Gynecological Papyrus, who dates back to 1800 BC. They use the term, as I said, that there has always been the hidden motivations, hidden phraseology involved with the usage of menstrual flow of the blood in women, and they use the term HSMN for the menstruation, and which some of the scholars have argued also to mean purification. So menstruation in these texts, have been also seen as a kind of the tool, helping therapeutic aid in order to cure amenorrhea, in order to create the ingredients of the therapeutic medicines in order to cure some of the ailments that human beings suffer from, especially in the cure of saggy breasts. while talking about the history which is associated with the associated with the menstrual taboo, I also I just came across, it just flashed across my mind that it was Alan Court who argued that the taboo began, the taboo began in part because early humans, they found menstrual blood to be soiling, or as he actually put up in his in correct terms in 1963, as having a depressive effect on organic materials. And then further we find anthropologists like Sir Shirley Littenbaum, Lindenbaum, Littenbaum, who theorized in 1972 that the taboo was a form of natural population control and limiting the sexual contact with pollution stigma. So all of these theories, all of the theories that come from the menstrual syndrome or the non-menstrual syndrome, or as the historian Robert S. McElveen coined the term non-menstrual syndrome to describe the reproductive envy that led males to stigmatize menstruation. So what I meant to deliberate upon all these narratives and establishment is that all of these theories, they are tied to the time and space in which they were developed, and many of were actually formed with a presumption of menstrual negativity. However, in fact, I also read in some of the researches from Europe and from the other parts of the world, of course, including our own country, India, that that menstrual blood is actually, people have described menstrual blood as toxic till the phases persisted in science, in culture, through the 20th century. But now in the 21st century, we know that it is actually non-toxic. It is actually non-toxic, and actually it was Dr. Bella Schick who coined the term menotoxin after concluding that the flowers touched by a menstruating nurse wilted more quickly. People say during this phase of before 1950s, during this phase, that if a menstruating woman would touch the flowers, or if she will go naked in her body in the greenlands, or if she will touch the seeds to be sown for the plants to grow in the season of the blooming, and a season appropriate to grow, then they never grow. So these kinds of the mentality were associated with actual the phases of the 20th century, which tried to establish menstrual blood as a toxic product. But then now today we know that it is actually a non-toxic ingredient, and it is a natural flow of the blood because of the fall of the endometrial cells in any woman's body for 3 to 5 days. Maybe sometimes in some women it is for 3 days, in some women it is for 4 days, and then in some cases the blood flows for 5 days also. Then if the listeners can please mute their phones, I would probably in a better position to understand the response from the people and scholars who have joined us on such an important subject. You see, I would also talk about talk a little bit more about the menstrual blood toxicity, which was actually it was actually proven wrong, but it is actually, there were two researchers from the Harvard University, Harvard researcher Olive and George Smith. These scholars are the pioneers in the field of the gynecology and estrogen treatment, and they actually injected animals with bacteria, latent menstrual blood, menstrual blood. And then the event I remember, of course, is of 1952, and the animals died. And actually, later reports from the departments, it came that the animals died because of the bacterial infection, and not because of the latent menstrual blood, which was of course not responsible to contaminate with any kind of infection in these animals who died. And their experimentation itself says itself was self-proving in its own way, that why and how menstruation taboos were for long reigned kind of the reception of the male patriarchy, that we do not allow to speak regarding the subject openly. And then I would also talk about Professor Chris Knight. Professor Chris Knight is a social anthropologist. He is associated with London University, and he has researched very deeply into the historical roots of menstrual taboo. I little bit talk about the narratives, the stories, the events, the functions of making of the mind of an individual in order to receive and understand and text in this society. Professor Chris Knight actually talked about the historical roots of menstrual taboo. In 1991, he actually published a book which was titled as "Blood Relations, Menstruation, and the Origin of Culture." And later he co-founded Evolang, 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 which is an international conference, which was actually an international conference series on the evolution of language. So why I want to deliberate upon Professor Knight's work, the reason for it is that though his theory may have inspired and elevated the minds of the individual towards a lot of the controversial talks and discussion, but it has certainly for long has been very thought-provoking, and that speak of the various kinds of the complexities and the mindset of the individual that of course discern the historical roots of menstrual stigma. Knight believes that the original menstrual taboos were actually born of female-led and female advantaging or advantageous positions and behavior in early human setups. Actually, females, they find themselves good reason enough to be away from the other family setups and establish themselves during the time of the menstruation, when their bodies could not, when they feel uncomfortable in contributing to the various affairs or various household affairs of the family. And then he also talked about the human species, specifically those which in fact instead of going back to the 200 million years ago, a history where the behavioral patterns of the humans are observed to be one of the reasons for the stigma which is related stigma that we, the modern society, relate to the subject. In fact, the human species have evolved under conditions that favored a menstrual cycle of perhaps 29.5 days, and that is actually the length of a lunar cycle. So that is why there are many menstrual taboos or menstruation taboos which are associated with the term moon. When I'm talking about the terminology, the phraseology of the making, the structure of the menstruation word, it would be appropriate to share with you all that mythologically because there are so many myths which have been responsible for such a long reign in history that we have not been able to give appropriate space to the discourses on menstruation, which is actually one of the important ingredients towards women's space and health. Morphology of menstruation is etymologically related to moon, and the term menstruation, or in fact menses, we in general term we say menses. They are derived from Latin word mensis, 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 that is month, which in turn relates to the Greek mean, that is moon, mene, moon, and to the roots of the English words like months and moon. So according to anthropologists like Buckley and Gottlieb, Buckley, Buckley and Gottlieb, Gottlieb, cross-cultural studies in the different disciplines, in the different scenes of art, literature, culture, sociology, etc. They show that menstrual stigma or menstruation taboos, they are nearly universal in nature. For instance, you look at the Indian scenario. I am sure my friends, scholars, and stakeholders who are listening to the discussion would agree, especially the females would agree that it is the females in the house themselves, or that who says that during the period of menstruation one should not visit religious places of worship, one should not perform the puja, you cannot offer flowers to the deities, not to touch the pickles will be spoiled all of a sudden. If you will touch anything made of the metals like ivory and bronze, they will lose their shining strength, and so many other things which are associated as part of the cultural tradition and setups. So actually, actually these menstruation taboos, they are nearly universal in nature. So many of these notions that are involved, they speak of the uncleanliness, they speak of the unhygienic sense, or the ingredients under which the body of a female go through during the menstrual or the menstruation or the menses period. However, now the interesting thing that is actually very important to talk about today on International Menstrual Hygiene Day, that in some traditional societies, and even today also in some traditional society, menstrual rituals, they are experienced and they are regarded as women protective. They are regarded as as empowering women with ingredients, with strength, with strength of creativity, power to create and generate, be productive, and it is actually one of those experiences by the females and the women in these societies, that women actually enjoying their authorities and domination of having of secluding themselves, or going into a kind of seclusion during the period, to set them apart, or to set apart from the male gaze, and of course from the unwanted sexual and domestic pressures and demands. So in fact, one of the very interesting thoroughgoing analysis is related with the study that French anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss did, and since we are talking about those societies, it is very appropriate to make a mention of Mabengel tribe in Africa. Mabengel tribe in Africa. In fact, in Africa, there is a phrase which is very popular. In fact, not only in various parts of the continents and subcontinent, this phrase is actually very popular, that my second husband is moon. My second husband is moon, because it is related with the lunar cycle. And let me also share with you after this that why we celebrate it on 28th, why the date 28th, May 28th, as World Menstrual Hygiene Day. So I was talking about the Menstrual tribe. The Menstrual tribe is a tribe of a specific zone in Central Africa, and they still use these sayings like "my biggest husband is the moon," and the biggest grass hut, the biggest grass hut of the Mufti tribe in Zar is the menstrual hut, which is the biggest menstrual hut in the world, and even it is today also, it is there, it is persisting today also. So what is this hut? What is this menstrual hut? This is actually a place where women go when they have their first period, and they go there along with so many other girls and the females relatives, the other friends, female friends. They go in that menstrual hut to celebrate their authority, their autonomy, their power to seclude themselves, set apart from the male gaze and unwanted sexual desires, pressures, and demands of the household, and is therefore considered to be very powerful and blessed by the moon. And why a specific term moon? As I said, that anthropologists studies and researches shows that the evolution of Homo sapiens, especially the relative studies of the various phases of the evolution of the man, when we date back into the historical roots, we find that many women, many females, in them, the cycle is of actually 28 days. In some cases, it is 29 days. Sometimes it is of 30 degree also. 30 days also. But it is every after 28 days that a woman undergoes a menstrual period, undergoes menstruation, and because this cycle is of 28 days, that is why 28 perhaps was the term which was selected and appropriately put up as the World or the International Menstrual Hygiene Day. So it is after that 28 days that women find this an opportunity to seclude themselves, especially as I was talking about the Mufti tribe in Zar in Central Africa, where the menstruating women separate themselves and go inside these huts to find a space of their own. So there are the negative taboos associated with the subject, like menstruation, or something, a variable or an ingredient which is very integral part of human beings' life. So it is apt to speak that women for several decades, because as I've been talking about, that most of these taboos are universal in nature. There have been the positive and negative notions of the researches and studies that were associated with the momentum that we have tried to achieve, and we have tried to gain in order to talk and bring discourses on the formal platform, to allow people to participate, male and female equally, to understand that how these taboos were generated, what is their relevance, and how far they show the modern setups or the postmodern setups of the society we are concerned with. As I said, that it is very interesting to find that women, that there have been positive notions also associated with the menstrual flow, or associated with the menstrual or the menstruation associated with the menstruation, where the women felt themselves as as strengthened, as a power generating authority, as somebody who has a power to create, and all sort of these societies procreative activities like child rearing and childbirth, and that is towards a kind of the higher participation, which was associated with a few taboos, of course, and most of the time it was actually the negative notions that led the appearance of taboo had a kind of a space in the society of humans. Since it is very appropriate to take the discussion ahead now in today's context, where we have now come to understand in 21st century that it is very normal for any girl, for any woman who is undergoing menstruation, who is undergoing a menstrual period, or there have been a lot of important work, lot of visual texts that have been actually very, very exemplary, very revolutionary in opening, in allowing any common man to understand that how important it is for the society to talk about the menstrual health, menstrual hygiene, and everything, everything which is so important related to the menstruation, stigma, menstrual flow of blood, the unhygienic conditions that it might lead to, and everything else. It is so important to find the discussion out of the revolutionary experiences that were brought to give the momentum to particular subjects in enjoying the celebration of International Menstrual Hygiene Day. I would also say that the films like Batman, films like Period, End of Sentence have been very, very pivotal in playing role and bringing criticism to life, to sustain life, and to understand that it is very normal for any girl, for a woman to menstruate, and because of this menstrual flow of the blood, because of this particular phase in a woman's life, that life is possible, or the entire human evolution has been possible. Now, before I move on to the next part of my discussion, I would say that it is now very very convenient and very convincing to find that women for several decades have been the part of various issues of representation in form and manner of cultural, social, political, economic, and other discourses, roving across top to bottom in the system and the environmental setup, as constituting variables that befit the propaganda in theory and practice of ideology. As a matter of fact, they have rarely seen the prime light as authoritative regulators. Much has been done with the passage of time in order to give an appropriate space only to mark her position at the receiving end. In spite of being born with the capability to create and give, she has seen herself waiting long to her needs and desires from the receiving end only. So their own sisters, their own compatriots, they have been very calculative of her psyche as part of an agenda which has given opportunity to the people, and public at large, often turned the entire scenario as a scene of propagandist for the sake of theorizing her mind and body for the purposes of enjoying popularity as an elite class intellectual enterprise. I would also continue speaking regarding the regarding women who were there in the center for being talked about their marginalized and subjugated position. There have been great literatures who were represented specifically in the different or from the different set of the minds of the patriarchal setup of the society. So women representation through a variety of diversified human expressions of the rights with which any human being is born. So women text right from her beauty of body to her compromising forms of emotions, her desires and willingness to accept change. No doubt, I must say, no doubt have exasperated the world of social and cultural setups that still is looking for more research papers and prospects, more talks, more formal debates and discussions on women's identity crisis. Now, my learned colleagues, scholars and stakeholders who have joined us on this very important and pertinent issue of menstrual hygiene, I would also say that in an age of, you see, revolutionary technological advances, where suddenly when there is an attack of corona all over the world, when we are running through the phase of a phase of a crisis situation, we know that how we have evolved ourselves, and how the necessity becomes the mother of invention. But the sad part, the sad plight is that even in an age of revolutionary technological advances, where we are responding just at the tip of one phrase and one term to respond to the another corner of the world, we are still sad. It is very sad. We are still in the process of statistical collection of a number who suffer from anemia, or who are unknown of the schemes and the services that can help any common girl or a common woman with the basic needs of the hygiene and health in evolving herself, or in evolving any human being, of course, as a contributory citizen in making of a strong nation. And you see, society garners multitudes of the statutes, laws, codes that speak volumes on women's safety, their idealist relevance, their veneration as significant identity, and they are celebrated in different forms and manners of reception in literature, and on other associated narratives and establishment in the society. But the sad plight is that, in spite of a decent allocation of the budget by the health department, by the Ministry of Health, and by the initiative of the government agencies, it is very sad to find that women are still, or a common girl still awaits the free availability of a sanitary napkin, which is a basic requirement towards a woman's health. You see, the important aspect of the entire discussion today is that though we have the availability of the Suvida, but I'm sure a common girl sitting in a scene in rural India, गांव में, या जो बाहर एक आम लड़की है, या अगर हम उससे पूछें कि आप सुविधा जानते हैं क्या है, सुविधा क्या है, so it is very difficult to find a very positive or decent answer from the folk at large from the area that is away from the developed areas or the smart cities in the country, of course. Suvidha, the initiatives like Suvidha, that is the low-cost sanitary napkins by the government agency, is something which is actually to appreciate for. And there are the proposals of the vending machines, the disposal of sanitary napkins. For the disposal of the sanitary napkins, there are various decent ideas from the various government and various NGOs. But then the thing is that if we look at the broader setup and the establishments in the society, and if we start actually preparing data of the educational setup, which is very basic to the roots of conditioning the minds of the individual, we find that hardly there are colleges, hardly there are universities, hardly there are public places where there are separate, where there are defined and specific corners where the females, girls, they can freely discuss the problem of the menstruation, availability of the sanitary pads, and then in times of the crisis situation related to the menstrual hygiene, one can reach to cater to the basic requirements. So which of course is something which yet needs momentum, which yet needs revolutionary sway of ideas, and the forums that should formally bring the debates and discussions regarding the menstrual hygiene, regarding the menstrual health, and everything which is related as a basic requirement for a woman. Another important aspect which I would like to talk about, because we have other speakers, other colleagues with me who have joined us from the other parts of the world, have been very cordial in receiving my lectures, because we all are allotted certain specific time to deliberate upon the issues today, when we are celebrating International Menstrual Hygiene Day. In order to just move towards the awareness scheme, moves towards in order to in fact conclude upon the statement, when I say that because it is all about the interpretation, you see, how we interpret a text to mean for us, how we interpret a text to sustain life with us. That is very important. In almost all the religions of the society, in almost all religious texts, everywhere, if you go through, we find that every religious text, it says that some of these things, some things are very sacred. We all consider them very pious. We all consider them very very pure, or the symbol of purity, or as sacred, and we have a kind of a respect. We have a kind of we are inclined to bow to respect it. So as Professor Knight says, that some things are sacred. He says that some things are secret at the base of all the world's religions. Then what I want to speak after this statement is that if there are some things which are sacred, and if the body, which is very basic to the evolution of human being, if that is not sacred, then nothing is sacred. Then nothing is sacred. So the paradox is that the very thing that benefits society, the very basic ingredient that helps the creation of the human being, the basic structure of the mankind, if that is so crucial, how can there be possibility to stigmatize the various notions related with the issue or the subject, which is actually very integral part of human life. So period or menstrual flow of the blood is in layman's understanding, is actually when these eggs, which are not when they are not fertilized, then after 28 days there are fall of endometrial cells from the body. And because of the kind of the excretions, as the normal any excretion from the body would smell, so there are various smells associated with it. But how can that be responsible to stigmatize the notions or the various notions that the researchers from the different nations, from the different disciplines, from sociology, from culture, from literature, from other setups have talked about? So that really amazed me, and that really was something very pivotal that inspired me to take up the subject ahead. And I'm very happy that the foundation has chosen a very pertinent subject to let people understand that it is something, and it's a free acceptance and a talk free, or in order to be called as a civilized society, it is very important to understand that to what far or to what extent men partake in the discussion associated with the women related issues. So, here perhaps I would like to conclude, and in order to conclude, I would say that since it is, of course, languages have the beautiful role in understanding any subject, but sometimes euphemisms for a subject so sensitive for the basic need of human life can be fatal too. Something that leads to the ailments that ail the mind of the individual is actually fatal to the entire human setup, and it questions the cultural, the understanding, the knowledge that we are treading into, the researches that we are treading into, and trying to trace a path, proposing and making submission towards the various establishment and narratives in the society, where we are still awaiting for the free sanitary napkins or the requirements, basic requirements associated with the menstrual hygiene. Since we are running in a very crisis situation, we are running in a situation which is very which pressurizes us, where there are a lot of pains and sufferings involved, but still we know that we can win the battle against the corona outbreak only when we are healthy, we are happy, we maintain the health and happiness. In order to be we are clean, we have to wash our hands every time we are touching something of which we are expecting to be infectious in nature, and if we note these notions, why are we not able to understand that how can the menstrual hygiene not crucial, not important to talk about and take a formal part of the discourse by the academicians and the people who should understand the sensitivity, who should be sensitive actually against against the entire entire setup or the various kinds of the setups that we keep on establishing, and talk about the bigger projects of setting human development across the world. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your beautiful hearing, giving me a hearing, giving a patient hearing is of course is something that encourages any speaker to find the receptors actively involved and contributing, taking ahead and giving momentum to such sensitive subjects as menstruation, menstrual hygiene, and menstruation as a subject related with the issues of women, centralizing women health, of course, as one of the important and pertinent issues, where we talk about Fit India, Swachh Bharat, and then Swasth Bharat. And Swasth Bharat is only possible when women is swasth. जब महिला स्वस्थ है, महिला जननी है, महिला हम वह प्रकृति की सुंदर रचना है जिसके आधार पे सारी प्रकृति जो है वो उसमें उसकी वजह से है, वो क्रिएट करती है, वो फर्टिलिटी की symbol है, उसकी हम पूजा करते हैं. But how can we ignore something which is very basic to the women's identity, women's central position in holding the family, society, and nation at large? Thank you so much. Thank you, Secretary, Expressions in Languages and Art Foundations. Thank you, my friend, Professor Afro Eto from Nigeria. Thank you, Professor Omolola Lajel, for listening me, and thank you, Dr. Meenakshi Singh, thank you, Dr. Jamaluddin Khan, and thanks, of course, all of these people who have made all the discussion very strong, very strengthening in healing the mind and giving power to an individual, conditioning their mind to understand the relevance and importance of a subject which is actually very important to find the actual meaning in Swachh Bharat or Swasth Bharat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next panelist for the evening is Dr. Ofiro O.M. Aito, a senior faculty member at the Department of English and Literary Studies at the Federal University, Lokoja, Nigeria. She has focused her research work towards gender studies. She is also interested in theory and criticism, popular culture and new media, war literature and migration. Ma'am has also been a Fulbright scholar and a research participant in colonial legacies and post-colonial discourse at the Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany. She is also an active member of the African Literature Association. She has been known to take up controversial socio-political and cultural discourses within literary contexts and investigations as the topics for her various publications in several national and international journals. Ma'am is also the editor of Hirentha, Journal of Humanities, and is an international assessor for Sage Publications. Along with her various literary achievements, she is also the director program of G Insight, an NGO movement on child abuse and abandonment, rape-related issues, and youth drug abuse. Dr. Aito today shall be talking to us on the topic menstruation, cultural and literary representations in Adimora Enzingbo's Last of the Strong Ones and Grace Apkan's Spiderweb. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Hello. Good evening, India. Can you hear me? Just wave to me if you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, it's good to be on this program. Thank you so much for inviting me. Dr. Alka Singh, thank you so much for the your presentation. It was quite enlightening and interesting. The title of my paper actually is Menstruation, Cultural and Literary Representations in Adimora Ezeagbo's Last of the Strong Ones and Grace Akpan's Spiderweb. Now, the question of health in relation to reproductive body of girls and women is a long-drawn conversation that has required UNICEF policies and interventions. Within this conversation is the menstruation aspect of a female, which is a part of a sexual production and her sexuality. So this presentation is basically focused on that small but very significant aspect of the girls and women's sexuality. Menstruation cycle is not an open page discussion in the female's reproductive health and body, because attention is more focused on her sexuality in relation to sex. While the entire discourse of women's health revolves around her sexuality, attention is minimal on menstrual health and cultural implication of this. And in terms of how these all put together define a female's identity. So to this end, I am focusing on how menstruation is subjected to cultural interpretation or implications and literary representations in the text, the novels I have selected. Now, UNICEF defines menstruation. UNICEF defines menstruation as a natural and regular occurrence experienced by nearly all women of reproductive age. The average woman will have about 450 menstrual cycles over an approximately 38 years of her life, and this translates to managing menstruation for a roughly period of 6.25 years of an adult's life. In addition, UNICEF argues that the ability to manage one's menstrual health with adequate knowledge, safety, dignity, without stigma is essential to human rights. The UNICEF document on the outlook on menstruation outlines some of the factors that inhibits the healthy living with your sexuality. And these include These include cultural subjugation, unwanted pregnancy, early pregnancy or unwanted pregnancy, rape, guiding against diseases, knowledge about your sexuality, safety regarding the health of your menstruation, and dignity that goes with their sexuality, because menstruation is basically a part of a woman's sexuality, which the cultural enclave, given cultural enclave, make it a bit secretive in terms of it is not something that is discussed. And it is that aspect of cultural implication or cultural guard against cultural disposition towards menstruation, which is a part of a woman's sexuality, that my discussion is focused on. So the essence of a female identity, the essence of female identity and dignity is encrypted in her, is encrypted in her reproductive organ and menstruation. But most importantly, the aspects of health and the aspects of health and rights and dignity and identity of the woman. However, adequate aspect of reproductive process is often overlooked, particularly this menstruation. Nobody wants to talk about it. In fact, in most cultural enclave, they tell you not to look down there because it's not something you must talk about, it's not something you must see, and it's something that is oftentimes hidden. It is discussed like a guided knowledge. So you kind of protect yourself in terms of your discussion, in terms of your sanitary, in terms of everything that you go about, in terms of everything that relates to your menstrual cycle. Now, before we go into the nitty-gritty of what the cultural and literary representation of menstrual cycle, I need to quickly give an insight into menstrual cycle. I'm glad Dr. Al-Kasing had mentioned quite a number of things regarding menstruation, health, and the other things. Now, menstrual cycle involves ovulation. It involves ovulation, which is the release of female egg into the uterus. In this process, tissue and blood vessels start to line the walls of the uterus for the process of fertilization. If the process of fertilization by the sperm does not occur, the performed lining of the uterus is shed through the vagina along with blood, which results in the monthly menstrual periods. There is no gainsaying that menstruation is both a sexual and productive health, an identity issue that tends towards human rights. This representation, therefore, explores the challenges of and discusses the crux of menstruation as a sexual identity problem that is often overlooked in the discourse of human rights that is impinged upon by cultural tenets. Menstrual cycle is a natural process that has been subjected to various misconceptions and cultural norms that mark this reproductive composition as a stigma, a shameful and hideous identity, and thereby subsumed in cultural and social taboos. The issues of menstruation as a cultural taboo denies the formulation of identity and human rights expression in many young girls and women in such areas as water, sanitation, hygiene. And these are often reflected in the economic productivity and sociocultural interactions. In other words, their rights are denied to dignity, hygiene, health, and gender equity. These rights in the discourse of menstruation have generated what may be regarded as a third wave feminist movement. There are documents like Beto Moy's collection of photos of women with shocking red lips. And it's one of the reasons why I'm wearing my lips red. Red is a color. We also have Kira Cotrane's October 2nd, 2009 essay that discussed Chela's Queen's adventures in menstruating Zane. Richard Calder, Naboth's My Little Red Book collection of Menake's first period stories There is also a post on the popular US website Jezebel about a forgotten tampon. We also have Joviana Chesler's film, Period, The End of Menstruation. And finally, there is also Chris Bobel's new book, New Blood, Third Wave Feminism and the Politics of Menstruation. These are all examples of contemporary menstrual activism. One common factor in all of these documents is the cultural perceptions of menstrual health and the feminist perspective to dignity and identity. Cochrane, in her essay, argues that in each cultural space, menstruation is regarded as a taboo of secrecy, and many girls and women formulate their identity from that cultural space of patriarchal definition of menstruation. We also have such space like the religious space that is dominated by patriarchy. We also have sociocultural, political, economic, and even home and family all contribute to the secrecy or the taboo nature of menstruation. Menstruation is thus part of a complex and enduring feminist project of loosening the social control of women's bodies, of working to move women's bodies from object to subject status. Something absolutely foundational to the host of contemporary issues, from human trafficking to eating disorders to sexual assaults. All of these are part of the end result of manipulated sexual or menstrual identity. Ironically, without menstruation, we must agree that there is no generation. There is no continuum or procreation. We cannot dismiss menstruation, and it is something that must be talked about, not in the closet, but in the open. Elaine Showalter, in gynocriticism, in a theory, gynocriticism, envisions this secrecy of the female health and her sexuality in her four-modeled theory that examines women's dignity and identity from what they say or write, to whom they write, from where they write. All of this coming from the experience of language, of communicating, the taboo, the cultural perspective of viewing the taboo of female identity, the psychoanalytical condition of their communication, and the biological composition that influence the writing or the words from which the phallic pains emanate. It defines distinctively feminine subject matters in literature written by women, context of domesticity, experience of gestation, giving birth, or mother-daughter and woman-woman relationships. Also, it highlights distinctive feminine modes of experience of subjectivity in thinking, feeling, valuing, and perceiving oneself and the outer world. For Showalter, it is no longer the ideological dilemma of reconciling revisionary pluralisms, but the essential question of difference. The emphasis on differing brings into focus awareness of the female body and the right to be different in language and text. That is the specificity of women's writing. Difference in this case is a matter of experience captured in style. Gynocriticism, therefore, emphasizes that women's writing is a reflection of their oppression, repression, and expression, defined by culture and location. In addition, this theorist adopts the menstrual reproduction process in arguing her fall model theory by drawing upon the X and Y chromosomes in analyzing how women are subcultured in Y chromosome, that is, subsists in the periphery of mainstream culture that is dominated by the X chromosome. In this light, I situate my discourse of menstruation within the context of cultural plenary of Nigeria and how menstrual health and dignity of women is subjected to traditional or cultural interpretations, patriarchal understanding as a cultural taboo of secrecy. The implication of taboo of secrecy attached to menstrual process or matters is that young girls experiencing their first menarche and women of different cultural landscapes in Nigeria are subjected to different forms of belief and practice communicated in symbols, and a narrative communicated in symbols through which they understand, or rather interpret their sexuality regarding menstrual process. And many of these have been narratively represented by writers, but quite a few have really touched on the actual experience of menstruation. Not every writer has really delved in Nigeria, has really delved into the narrative of menstruation, where a few writers in Nigeria from different geopolitical zones have mentioned it in passing, and the cultural implication of this. And two of these writers I'm looking at briefly are Akachi Adimora Ezegbu's Last of the Strong Ones and Grace Akpan's Spiderweb. Now, within these two texts, these two narratives, they project different beliefs and myths relating to menstruation, adopted within valuing the self-worth of a girl or a woman in Nigeria, just as the theorists and critics have also adopted it in foregrounding female sexual identity. Almost in all parts of the world and in each given society, people believe that there are cultural norms and practices attached to menstrual health that relegates the dignity of the matter. An example of this is drawn from Chris Bobel's and Elizabeth Aveda Chrisley address that states that, and I quote here, "Perhaps because we are socialized not to look too closely down there, but attention to representation of the menstrual cycle reveals how women internalize destructive messages about womanhood, including notions of their bodies as messy, unruly, yes, things that need to be tidied up, medicated, plucked, smoothed, and trimmed." I quote from Menstruation Matters, Introduction to the Representation of the Menstrual Cycle. For this reason, the girl child and women are sometimes subjected to certain ritual practices in the process of their monthly cycle, especially for those who are experiencing it the first time. There are certain ritual, cultural, cultural, they are called the rite of passage or the rite into womanhood. And these are practiced in many African and many Nigerian societies in terms of celebrating the menstrual process, breaking of the first cycle is highly celebrated in a ritualistic manner. However, in many of these cultural celebrations, the hygiene and identity, or rather the dignity of this matter is oftentimes silent. And it is, most of the ritual practices inculcates into these young growing children, women, that your menstrual cycle is a cultural taboo. And these are also further enforced by women who act as agents of these cultural practices. Culture in this regard becomes a major variable in menstrual matters and sexual identity formulation. In Last of the Strong Ones by Akachi Adimora Ezegbu is a narrative that features four women, four traditional, or I mean, if I may call them Amazon, Igbo Amazons. It is actually located in Nigeria, in the Igbo region of Nigeria, that is the eastern region, southeast of Nigeria. And here the novel is one of the first of a trilogy that documents events as they unfold in Igbo history, particularly the involvement of women in resistance to domination. Now, this narrative basically looks at women from the traditional background and their involvement in the development activities, policy making, their safety and their well-being of the entire community, and particularly the women. Now, the narrative focused on 4 Amazons who are regarded as the Uluada of that community. That is the women section of the male policy makers in that community. And these characters include Ejimnaka, Onyekozuru, Chieme, and Chibuka. Now, my attention is going to focus mainly on one of the characters because of our distinctive identity. And that distinctive identity is born out of our not being able to menstruate. Now, in the discourse of menstrual cycle, a lot of it, there is a huge silence on this other side of the narrative where the woman is unable to menstruate. Here we're looking at the biological miscalculation where a woman is unable to menstruate. It is not her fault, but she is born like that. Now, in this part of the clan, culturally, such a woman is regarded as a man. Not being able to menstruate means that you are not a woman, you are incomplete, you cannot reproduce, you do not have any business with health matters. Therefore, you are like a man in the house, but yet without the male authority. Now, I am focusing on that because that is an aspect that is very interesting in the sense that maybe from this, maybe conversation we generate from that, where we begin to look at also not just the menstrual health and those who menstruate, but also the psychological condition, the biological composition, the cultural stigmatization of those who are not able to menstruate. What do we do about them? How do we manage them? Now, when we look at Chieme, she's one of the strong women in the community, but unfortunately, she was quietly written off the narrative simply because she has been declared or designated or derogatorily declared a man who does not have what it takes to be a woman. Therefore, she does not qualify to be a fighter. She does not qualify to be involved in any communal conversation or communal policies. Yet this woman, Chieme, is dogged. She never gives up. She's always amongst the Uluada, despite her being regarded as a woman. But unfortunately, because of her status of not being able to menstruate, she becomes an introvert. She is psychologically disturbed. She could not communicate with the other members of the Uluada community freely. And then her marriage failed because the husband keeps on reminding her that he has married a man. Now, in the contemporary society, you may want to equate that to the LGBTQTR people. But in the traditional sense, there was no such idea. There was no such understanding that you can be different. You can be biologically different. And the society has not been trained to that point of understanding that this difference is in its own class and can also be accommodated. Rather, that difference becomes an outcast. And so Chieme, within the narrative structure, becomes an outcast who is stigmatized and could not function as a member of the Uluada community. And so, because of this, because of the gravity of our situation, she becomes an attack. She becomes a target of attack by members of the community who could not understand the difference in Chieme. In a sense, you may want to, well, maybe I could argue that the novelist Adimora Ezegu, in Last of the Strong One, has started a new conversation. And that conversation has to do with the male-female activism, where the woman cannot menstruate. Now, within the same Igbo cultural region, there is another perception, which was documented by Ifeoma Dueme in her narrative, in her essay, Male Husband and Female Daughters, the dynamics of culture in Igbo history, Igbo cultural, the dynamics of culture in Igbo enclave. Now, in that collection of essays, Ifeoma Dueme also propounds another perspective of the male in the house. Now, this perspective that's part of the woman. Like in the case of Chieme, who is a male, that is, she does not experience menstrual cycle, and she's already stigmatized as a male. Now, Amadueme argues that such people, what they do in marriage when they are not able to produce children is to marry another female into the house. So what you now have is 2 females in the house, 2 women in the house and a male. Culturally, as a result of an inability to menstruate, there are 2 males in the house and a woman. So the male, in the case of Chieme in Last of the Strong One, brings in another woman whom she now claims to be her wife. She marries her in the ritual process through the marriage rites, but this time as a woman marrying a woman. But she is marrying her to bring her into her family so that she can procreate for her and therefore continue the lineage of her family through her. So now you have a male husband with a female wife who now procreates for her. So you see the complexities of menstrual process, especially when it comes to cultural discourses. Cultural interpretation and interpret some of this, drawing from their own culture. I also want to look at is spider web. Spider web. Now, spider web is written by Grace Ackman, and it opens for a young girl named Uduak. This narrative is situated in the south region of Nigeria. Now, what I have done is to try and bring it to different literary representation of cultural perceptions of menstruation and the implications on female identity. Now, in Grace Ackman's spider web, we have the image of Udra, who is a beautiful character, a beautiful young girl who has a dream to become a midwife, a nurse. But through naivety, she becomes a victim of rape because she is so sexually and physically enduring. Udra comes to a convent, goes to a convent to complete her training as a midwife. Unfortunately, she becomes a victim of a Catholic priest in charge of the convent who sexually raped her in spite of her own education, in spite of her being betrothed from childhood to another young man in the village, whose name is Ekere Nwem. Ekere Nwem is a village carpenter who also completed his apprenticeship in the village Catholic mission at Calabar. When after the before they betrothed, before the marriage rites, Udrak was introduced in the narrative as a young 13-year-old who was just starting her period, her menstrual cycle. And so in Calabar region, that is the south region of Nigeria, your first cycle is a huge celebration, but then in high secrecy, where nobody can come into. It is often celebrated in the dark room. Now the question is, why is menstruation such an abhorrence that it has to be regarded as something dark, something not to be seen, not to look down there, something not to attach, that you cannot attach to female identity? It's quite interesting because that's where the angle, that's the position of Grace Ackman. Even though she also in the narrative tries to cast aspersion on the Catholic faith and the naivety, or rather the uneducated nature of Udrak. Now, Udrak not being educated, I'm taking it from the point of view of formal education and informal education. Now, when she started her first menarche, which is her first cycle, she is taken to the dark room, which is a common process in Calabar. For you to go through marriage rites, for you to celebrate your first cycle, you'll be taken to a dark room where they tutor you on the rules of menstrual process, menstrual health, the limitations, the cultural limitations and cultural rights of that sexual identity or health, human rights. Now, Uduak is taken into the dark room where nobody can go into, and she will be in that dark room for the period that she will have her flow. Now, in that dark room, Grace Akpan describes the dark room where there is no sanitation. There is no sanitary pad. There is no process where you are there naked, and your flow, your period, your blood flows through a path, a passage into some unknown place. So now these women who are the agents of cultural identity, of menstrual rights, of menstrual sexuality, indoctrinates these children or this young girl child about the rules and regulations of their sexuality, meaning that the essence of their menstrual period is simply to satisfy their husband, which is to produce children for their husband. They're not given the intimate knowledge about safety, about health, about their human rights, about their dignity, about their sexual identity regarding this menstrual period. And so after the process of initiation, which is also regarded as the ritual rights to womanhood, Uduak also subjected herself to the right of marriage, introduction. And then she goes away from the village that has cocooned her in cultural taboos into the city, into a convent where there is a lascivious Catholic priest who pounds on her and impregnates her. My focus is not on the priests, but my focus is on Uduak, who in the first instance is subjected to young marriage when she has no knowledge about anything. She has no knowledge about menstrual period. She has no knowledge about men. She has no knowledge about her own sexuality. She has no knowledge about her own safety. She is thrown into the womb. And so what I am saying in essence here is that this symposium is a very important one that is exposing that silent aspects of women's sexual identity. You know, it exposes the women's sexual, and then brings to the forefront that concealment, that concealed innocence rights of the child, and then the sexual rights of the woman that have been over the ages wrapped in taboo of secrecy that is interestingly controlled also by women, but defined by men. So now we have, and then you see another interesting thing about this, this South spider web is that the right of the ritual celebration of menstruation in Calabar does not just stop in the secrecy. There is usually a special dance that is also allowed where the young girls are paraded on the streets, that these are the young ones or young women are paraded on the street, stating that these are the ones who are going to be initiated into womanhood. Now, two contradictions or ironies here. First of all, you shroud this sexual rights or health rights in secrecy. And then secondly, you parade them to the men that these are the symbols, these are the images of those who are ripe for sexual assault, sexual control, or patriarchal domination. Now, and the notion of taboo in this case becomes a life-changing trauma for Uduak, in the sense that the priest that she sees as a godlike image, that is Father Tobias, becomes the person who disrupted her naivety, her innocence. Now, Uduak's lack of knowledge of her menstrual health also indicates the failure, that is the inability of the society, the cultural tenets of the society inhibits the rights of the women it inhibits the rights of the young girl, the child, and also affects her ability to complete her studies. The interesting thing is that Udrak left her village for the Catholic Mission Convent to study midwife. Now, here is somebody who is going to study midwifery, but has no knowledge of menstruation, her reproduction health. Grace Ackman throws at us, the readers here also, the question of value of formal education regarding female sexuality and her human rights. It also throws at us the space, it opens up for us also the space for us to discuss these ritual rights of the ritual rites of initiation into womanhood, which is called the virgin rites. You know, it also throws at us the space to discuss menstruation and the reproduction health and sexuality of women. Thank you. Please, I would like to just quickly add that it's still an ongoing work. I have not finished working on it because the notice was was a bit short, but that's why I asked the organizers not to stream the PowerPoint because it's still an ongoing work, incomplete, so it's not open to public reading or readership. Thank you.
Thank you for that insightful talk, ma'am. Our next panelist is Dr. Omolola A. Ladil, Associate Professor of English, Lagos State University, Ojo, Lagos, Nigeria. Ma'am teaches several graduate and undergraduate level courses and has presented papers at various international and local conferences in North America, Europe, the Middle East, and Nigeria. Today, she shall be talking to us on the topic Menstrual Hygiene and African Women's Sexuality as Framework for Empowerment, Some Possibilities and Contradictions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. So I'm speaking from a women's studies, gender studies perspective on menstrual hygiene and African women's sexuality as framework for empowerment, some possibilities and contradictions. In the course of researching this work, I find that there is a paucity, possibly even avoidance or concealment of literary symbolizations of African women's menstrual cycles in much of the vast repertoire of literature they have already produced. Thus, from Menarche, i.e. the beginning point, to menopause, the terminal point, and as indicators of women's active sexual life, the attitude of African women writers to the menstrual cycle as possible sites of empowerment is indeed minimal. And this is concealed largely by their preoccupations with the burdens of dire existential circumstances, global economic deprivations, and heteropatriarchal constraints, among several other nagging issues. In today's talk, I select for my critical premise Naminata Diabate's perspective of female genital power. She has gone on to expand that work and has since expanded and published it as Naked Agency, genital cursing and biopolitics in Africa. As a matter of fact, it was published in March of this year. So I see women's bodies as potentially the sites of empowerment. And as a matter of fact, contradictorily or paradoxically, these same sites are sites of oppression. I therefore conceptualize in this discussion hygiene in women's menstrual cycle, not in medicalized clinical terms, but as symbolizations that may or may not signal wellness. So I use hygiene metaphorically to signal wellness, wholeness, well-being in spiritual and material terms. I also interrogate the contextual backcloth of these representations as I look at Amadako's Beyond the Horizon and Nawal El-Sadawi's Two Women in One. Amadako is a Ghanaian writer, mostly based in Germany, and El-Sadawi, as we know, is an Egyptian feminist. So I find that one, African women are themselves inferiorized, marginalized, and relegated. And African women's sexuality is also inferiorized, marginalized, and relegated. Even though her sexuality can be deployed in the service of resistance. As Diabate has proffered, genitally centered practices, the menstrual cycle, and I also add in this discussion, female cutting, the labia minora elongation, and these are specifically centered around blood. As we have heard today so far, menstruation is by definition biological, it's natural. It's a regular cyclic flow of blood from the uterine from the uterus through the vagina. Incidentally, and also importantly, and as Dr. Singh has already mentioned, that it coincides with the lunar rhythms, i.e. the cycles of the moon. This gives menstrual cycle some mystical content, which may be linked, or which I have linked in this discussion with the fear of Medusa. Now, and there are some cultural contexts that I have looked at where I find that the beginning of the menstrual cycle coincides with the loss of innocence. And even with this loss of innocence, there are some contradictions that become manifest. So one, there is a transition from the girl or child to womanhood, marked by the first appearance and incidence of the menstrual flow. It signals in many cases the loss of innocence. This is accompanied by complexity of confusing emotions. Confusing emotions such as anxiety, fear, repulsion, putrefaction on the one hand, and yet again, it is celebrated with pomp, with ululation, with initiation rites and teachings on another hand. For instance, I know that in some parts of India, for instance, there is what is called turmeric bathing, all right? But what I have discovered is that many of these cultural practices are accentuated by the patriarchal capitalist context of many African societies. In looking at these cultural representations, I find that they are long traditions, long genealogies. For instance, the Judeo-Christian traditions, Islamic laws, and so on, which have been long-standing. And that these cultural perceptions, taboos, traditional norms, superstitious beliefs, and myths around women's menstrual blood subsist in many developing nations of the global south, including many parts of Asia, Africa, and South America. Now, as a result of the fact that many of these norms, taboos, and so on are prejudicial and gender biased in nature, they lead to stigma, which limits the behavioral expectations of women from this point in their lives. So women are barred from public, social, and religious spaces. Two, these periodic prohibitive restrictions and limitations are mostly demeaning. These practices are specially designed to control, police, and curtail the movements of women. Now, to contextualize what I have narrated this far, I have looked at two novels, Two Women in One by El Sadawi, where we find that her protagonist, Baher Sahin, goes through the process of genital cutting, female genital cutting. Now, incidentally, this is carried out by a generation of older women. And then, of course, she kicks and screams and yells the whole place down, trying to prevent the cutting. But of course, she gets even more scarred by all the force that she throws up. El Sadawi has also gone on to expand on this cultural tradition in her book, in a much earlier work, The Hidden Face of Eve, whereas a medical doctor herself, a medical practitioner in Egypt, you know, she has vehemently tried to prevent female genital cutting. Now, in Amadako's novel, Beyond the Horizon, we find also that Mara, the protagonist, finds that her menstrual cycle is a source of pain. It's a source of mental torture for her. And so, from these two novels, we find that repeatedly the writers emphasize the pain, the torture that accompanies the process of transition into womanhood. Two, we have also seen from the cultural context the processes of inferiorization, stigmatization, and as Dr. Singh did say much earlier, that sometimes these processes lead to ostracization and even death. And so I am now proposing that this same body of the woman can be used as an empowering framework. We have discovered, even as Dr. Aito has also said, that there is a minimal focus on the menstrual cycle of women by African writers. Now, I am suggesting that when our writers centralize genital power, since it is an important aspect of women's sexuality, then we are going to be enlarging the discourse, we are going to be making it more open and therefore subject to revisions. When women themselves interrogate the basis of these age-long practices and their underlying patriarchal heteronormative agendas, then, for instance, I read that in Malawi, for instance, the girl who is transiting into womanhood, into adulthood, has her first sexual intercourse with a traditional doctor who supervises the initiation process. So apparently, this traditional doctor goes through all the women of that group. I am also suggesting, for the purposes of empowerment, that there should be female convivability. Many of these processes, initiations, are carried out by women themselves. And we can see that there is a dynamic interplay of African women's rights, African women's sexuality, and culture. And so when we begin to reconfigure this and restructure this, then women can, African women in particular, can use their sexuality for empowerment. Thank you, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Ms. Bhavya Arora to take over.
Thank you, Ms. Sumita. Session, Dr. Japti Khan was supposed to hospital for the corona patients. As much as we like to have him on the panel, got his effort in a scenario which is much more crucial. We will move ahead with our next speaker, Ms. Chandrani Banerjee. Ms. Chandrani is a Delhi-based bilingual journalist. She has worked long with the Outlook magazine. She has covered all the investigative agencies and the Home Ministry and the Defense Ministry. Filed stories, women and gender issues, and broke the PF scam involving the High Court and the from her stories for the magazine. Freelancing with The Wire and teaching at IIMC with other institutions. For this session, her topic shall be
हाँ अभी पूछते हैं बस 1 मिनट रुको।
Hi, is Bhavya there? Your voice is breaking. Bhavya, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, Bhavya has introduced.
I think I lost some connection.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you please, my topic.
I think you can start from here.
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, it's communications, I believe.
For the evening is it's communication and media relational study.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Dr. Umulola. It was very in-depth and very highlighting kind of information, Dr. Aito and Dr. Alka Singh. Very well spoken, and it was very insightful. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this subject. I particularly feel that, there's a huge need and a huge role that the communications do play in kind of highlighting the natural, basically to accept menstruational procedure as a very natural process of a body, which is part of, like, you breathe, you menstruate. Simple. It is not as if, something that you need to highlight. Now, in very many countries, there are practices which actually put you under specific do's and don'ts. Even in India, there are very, very villages, and I, as a reporter, traveled a lot. And I know that, there are an awareness, there are lack of knowledge about the fact that it is nothing to be feel ashamed of, or this is nothing that you need to that has to be a taboo about it. It is something that is a part of a female body or a female system which medically supports the body. And when you menstruate, you contribute, and you, of course, it is part of your reproductive system, and you contribute positively in creating the society and the culture, everything. But the point that I figured out in traveling very many places, specifically in hilly regions, that the villages, remote villages, women and young girls have no knowledge about sanitary napkins or about the hygiene and health, and they use whatever is available to them, which causes huge health problems to them. And then access to medical system is also very rare, and that is a huge issue for them to access it. It's not about the money, it's about the distance, about the demographic setup is such that you can't access health services for something related to menstruation. And there comes the role of media and communications. This seminar or these kind of seminars are very, very important. If I go through and look at the participants today and those who are commenting, I was counting since the time it has started. 6 men were part of it. 6 men were part of it. The day it will be 600. We will think, or we will say that the media is successfully created awareness, or the platforms that are available to media are sure enough for them, and they can actually reach the targeted audience. Half or most of the problems that are there is because of the fact that we can't reach to the people. I'm giving you an example of a village in Uttarakhand, where a young girl was not aware of menstruation, and she was not aware of the fact that what to use, and it can cause some health problem, and she was very young, and she need to be told. And there were procedures, there were system in place by the government of India, where they can access sanitary napkins, they can access primary health centers, but they are not aware that they can do it. like like it is available to them, that also need to be told. So this is something which is a perennial problem, and we need to focus more on that. I'm giving you just one example, and I've traveled from the northern region a lot, and then eastern region a lot. Even in eastern region, I'm telling you, even in northern region, there is certainly poverty, and is a cause. For government, the schemes that government has launched, it is not reached to people, not because sorry.
Ma'am,
Not because
please continue.
Okay.
This is somebody else interjecting.
Okay, so this is something, it is not because of the fact, that how whether or not, biggest problem is that the information is not reaching to the desired target audience. Government of India do have some schemes. I've covered women and child development for long in the union cabinet, and I've seen that there are schemes that have been put in place, like in schools, the vending machines have been put, stations, the vending machines have been put. But what about the rural women, and the rural access of how the rural women can access? Because in the rural villages there is a lot of taboos, which Dr. Ayuto and Dr. Omulalo Lola was discussing, that there are not maybe to the tune of what your country has, but even in India, there are taboos, and people do object or kind of still suffer the mental block. I'm talking about the most educated lot, those who are teaching in colleges, those who are doctors, those who are professors, doctors, journalists. They have this mental block where, as in India, from childhood days, from the day one when you menstruate, your parents or your mother, your female folks tells you that you are not supposed to participate in the religious activities because you are menstruating. And that is, I am telling you, across board, you can ask any women, they will not do it, because it is a mental block. You've been practicing it for donkey's years, for tens of thousands of years. So you cannot deny, or you cannot say that no, I can just, it's all right, it's part of a part of my system, and I can just go and perform the puja or perform my religious activities. I can just pray. You can pray, but you have to pray from your own room. You cannot enter the religious temples. You cannot enter the church. And it is, I'm telling you, across India, this practice in most of the parts. In most of the parts, the country follows this, and the most educated women live with this mental block that because I'm menstruating, I cannot go to the religious place. I cannot participate in religious activities. And if there is a wedding, the menstruating ladies will not participate, and they'll participate only in limited activities, and they will not be allowed to participate. All these things have been practiced for tens and thousands of years. So even if they are educated, they are well traveled, but they cannot do it. It is a mental block. So this kind of mental block exists in the very educated lot. So you very well imagine the rural India. The rural India is, and media has a huge role here to play, where they have to make the rural India aware that there is nothing wrong in looking after yourself, and there's nothing wrong in taking care of the desired hygiene. There's nothing wrong in taking care of your health, where you have to take care, you have to wash yourself properly. Probably you contract some infection if you are doing it in unsafe places. You're changing your sanitary napkin or something, you might contract some kind of infection. Nobody is there to tell them. Also, the schemes, the kind of health schemes or awareness that it's available to them is not known to them. So media has a huge role to play, where I personally feel that in northern India, in eastern India, the awareness percentage may vary. The awareness percentage may vary, and that is Sumedha. There is a lot of noise, I guess.
The participants are requested to turn off their mics. May I have your attention? Please turn off your mic.
And Sumedha, please tell me when my time gets over.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, please continue. Whether can we spot who is this person?
Yeah. So, you know, like if you, it's all about the education rate. If you look at the educational level of the various states that is there in India, in northeastern states, again there are different kind of taboo. Eastern states, there are different kind of taboo. In southern states, there are different kind of taboo or practices that is being practiced for ages, and girls are being raised with those belief that, you know, you cannot participate in religious activities. This religious activities thing, I can bet that across India everyone practices. And in rural India, the huge this thing is that they are not, they will not, they in rural India, in Bihar, most of the villages where women are being kept in a different hut, as I was seeing Dr. Oyoto and Dr. Umolola was referring to, that they were kept in different hut. So in the border villages of Nepal, which is bordering with UP and Bihar, all women who are menstruating, they have been asked to stay for 5 days in a different hut. The women are not supposed to cook. The women are not supposed to perform religious activities. The women are not supposed to, have their meals with the family. They will live 5 days separately. And in southern India, this I'm telling you in the bordering states of northern India, which is UP and Bihar. And I am telling you now about the southern India. Southern India, the women are again being told not to, religious activities is a constant, and other than that they are being told not to once they menstruate, their age, the first menstruation that they get, if there is a huge religious practice that is going on for ages in southern India, their entire clan is being invited and being told that this girl has started menstruating, and then it is very embarrassing for the young girl who doesn't understand why this people are coming and looking at her, and they just it's about 4-5 hours long ritual where the men and all the family members come and check you out, and you are being made to sit in the center of the room, and everybody comes and check you out, and they tell you that, oh, you started menstruating, now you'll get to know. So the young girl gets she thinks that what is happening to me, why this is all of a sudden everything changed and everything is checking out on me, and nobody tells her that why, and nobody has, and this practice is going on for ages. They are embarrassed, but they are not being even I've told you, the saddest part is that the most educated people, professors, doctors, and social activists, they all practice this because this is the oldest thing that they have been raised with, so they can't let it go, so they practice it. So this is the southern India. And eastern India also, this religious activities, you cannot participate in the wedding rituals, you cannot do anything about any participation is greatly discouraged. And so the change is slow, but it is coming. I wouldn't say that everything is very discouraging. There are encouraging incidents where women have protested, like in Sabrimala. There is a very famous temple in southern India where women have gone to the temple, to the Supreme Court, and demanded that they should be allowed, while menstruating, getting into the temple, and this is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong about it, and they should not be treated like a taboo or untouchable. Why wouldn't they be allowed? So there was a huge debate and everything, but still they've managed and they've gone, and they have broken this glass ceiling. And there's another small success in Eastern India about performing ritual religious activities. There is a very small group, about if on totality, if I can say 10% or 15% of women who have been kind of very in the forefront and leading the whole show, and they are making people aware, and also allowing the most celebrated festival in the eastern region, Durga Puja. They have taken the plunge of involving the menstruating women to perform the religious activities, to break this glass ceiling, to make people understand that this is nothing but a mindset, but a mental block. And so this is something, that they are kind of practicing. And there are two sets of problem. One, that there is no awareness among rural India, and there is another problem, that there is age-old practices that the educated urban India, even if they try, they can't let it go, because it is completely in their blood, and they have been raised with this feeling. So two different kind of problems that rural India and urban India is facing. And the media is very slowly, I would say, is trying to work towards it. They highlight the cases, like in recent times during COVID-19. There are number of publications published this news that doctors, the female doctors, the women doctors, have been menstruating while wearing the PPE kit, and they have not been given the time to change. Means, everybody is celebrating the front warriors and everything, but nobody kind of thought of the fact that, once you wear that COVID-19 kit, you wear it for 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, and those 6 hours, if a menstruating woman wants to go to the bathroom, she can't. If she wants to change, she can't. So it is something that they live with, and there's a but the media highlighted it and draw the attention towards it. And as a result, the hospitals and everything, every health organization which is working to control the COVID-19, they have started taking a note, and they have started breaking the shift, because there's a problem also. The PPE kit, once you wear it, you have to wear it for 6 hours, because once you remove it, you just throw it away. So the kit that the doctors are wearing, there's numbered kits. It's not that it is in access, is great access that we have, numbers are limited. So then they are choosing their people correct, means little keeping this in mind, that if they are not in such dire need, then those who are kind of not menstruating, those female doctors should push into duty instead of these people. Because this is another very big area is Indian Railways, where women trained drivers drive Rajdhani. And Outlook did a story, and I did a story, that they didn't have a bathroom, and those Rajdhanis are they have very limited stations, only 4 stations from Bombay to Delhi, or Delhi to Calcutta. So the women doesn't even get the opportunity to, because the railways have not built any bathroom in the train for the drivers, for women trained drivers, and they drive the super fast trains. And this was highlighted by me, and then the railways is still kind of looking into it, and it's been kind of 7-8 years now. So that it's not and again, the need to understand that it is very important. It is very important. And I have spoken about this e-seminar. Very many men told me that it's a gender subject, it's a women's topic. Why should we kind of nothing to do with us? It is to do with you. It is something to do with you, because we both can change the scenario. It is something that physically a person is living with. You see a person, a child crying on the road, you don't help that child. Do you think that it's a problem of the child? No, it is a problem of our society. It is a problem of us. It is a problem of our mindset. So media is certainly has to play a huge role, but society, as a society, we all have to play a huge contributory role, where men cannot say that this is a gender issue and we don't want to know about it. When they will know, because in administration both men and women are there, and they both have to realize, and as a society we participate and we contribute and we come forward, then we kind of form the we can strengthen it, and we can look into every aspect of this problem to sort it out. Sumedha, do you think that I have further time left?
Ma'am, I don't think we have some extra time in hand. So
okay.
We might have to conclude here.
Okay.
But thank you very much for that session. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Add something? Were you on the verge of adding something?
No, I'm just ready to take questions. If anybody wants to ask anything, they can just go ahead and ask me. Otherwise, I'm absolutely.
We might have a set of questions towards the end of the seminar
session.
Finish with all the panelists.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this brings us to the last session for the day by Dr. Meenakshi Singh on a very crucial topic entitled Awareness of Menstrual Hygiene in Schools. Dr. Meenakshi Singh is a homeopathic physician and a social worker. She has worked for different government programs, national health missions, and is an advisor in National Ayush Mission, Uttar Pradesh. She has worked as a nodal officer of Health Wellness Center of Ayush Bharat. She has been consistently working as a corona warrior through her free consultancy to the government, working specially for the girls, students, and women of rural areas, educating them of their rights, personal and menstrual hygiene. She is also a part of the campaign of Save Girl Child and has been awarded the Samay Award 2020. Over to you, ma'am. Have we lost connection with?
No, you may have to mute her. Unmute her, actually.
1 second.
She's already unmuted.
Vedoria, can you look into this technical issue, please?
Yeah, ma'am is on unmute. She can now start her speech.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks to all panelists, especially Chandrani ma'am and Alka ma'am, for giving us such a, their session is very informative for us. And thank you for that, ma'am. And thanks the foundation.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, बहुत सारी बातें इतनी देर में सारे पैनलिस्ट से हम जान चुके हैं, कल्चर, हिस्ट्री, जर्नलिज्म. अभी हम आज इंटरनेशनल मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे, राइट? कोई भी डे हम तब स्टार्ट करते हैं जब वो प्रॉब्लम एक बहुत बड़ा रूप ले लेती है, जो एक बहुत बड़ा कारण बनता है हमारे समाज में. एंड ये जो प्रॉब्लम है ये एक ग्लोबल इशू है. इस साल मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे का WHO का जो थीम है, दैट इज नो मोर लिमिट्स, एम्पावरिंग वुमेन एंड गर्ल्स थ्रू गुड मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन. मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन पे बात करने से पहले हम मेंस्ट्रुएशन, व्हाट इज मेंस्ट्रुएशन, इसको अंडरस्टैंड करें, इस चीज को हम अपने अंदर समझें कि मेंस्ट्रुएशन इट्स अ नॉर्मल, it's a healthy part of life, like our other system of the body. Menstruation is a normal thing. आप ये सोचिए कि 21st century में आके मतलब when a girl faces challenges in managing her period in a healthy manner, it can cause a number of problems to her physical as well as mental health. Not only she will be at risk of infection, but her education, self-esteem, confidence also suffer in a major way. So बहुत जरूरी है हमें इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे अपनी बात उठाने की, जो सभी पैनलिस्ट ने की है। यहाँ पे मैं बहुत छोटी छोटी सी चीजें आपके साथ डिस्कस करूंगी कि मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन की आवश्यकता क्यों है। सभी मेंस्ट्रुएशन के बारे में जानते हैं, इसके क्या कारण है। तो मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन इज वेरी मतलब दिस इज द इशू व्हिच कैन increase a woman's chance of contracting cervical cancer, reproductive tract infection, hepatitis B infection, urinary tract infection, yeast infections, and so many things. Rashes, dermatitis, so many things. So, ये हमें समझने की जरूरत है आज मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे पे कि हमें क्या करना है, हमें क्या नहीं करना है। हम आज नियर अबाउट 100 पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं। अगर आज हम यहाँ से बात समझ के जाते हैं और अगर हम बहुत नहीं कर सकते, अपने आसपास के लोगों को, अपने मेड को, अपने नियरेस्ट सोसाइटी को एडुकेट करें व्हाट इज राइट फॉर मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन, तो ये सेमिनार मुझे लगता है कि लिटरली सक्सेसफुल होगा, बहुत ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल होगा अगर ये लोगों के रीच तक पहुंच जाएगा। सो पुअर मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन can lead to many issues such as fungal infections, bacterial infections of the reproductive tract, urinary tract, irritation of skin, and irritation of skin causes discomfort and can result in dermatitis. So अब हम एक एक पॉइंट को लेंगे कि menstrual hygiene की कहाँ जरूरत है। Using unclean pads or cheap alternatives, because हम जब मेजर बात कर रहे हैं तो हम डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज की बात कर रहे हैं जहां पे हमारी मैक्सिमम पॉपुलेशन रूरल एरियाज को बिलोंग करती है। हम मदर्स और ग्रैंड मदर्स बहुत समय से यूज कर रहे हैं, हमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई। वो प्रॉब्लम तुरंत हो सकता है कि वो प्रॉब्लम तुरंत आपको नहीं दिख रही है, आगे प्रॉब्लम क्या होगी अगर हम ये हमें उन्हें समझाना है कि अनक्लीन पैड्स या चीप अल्टरनेटिव यूज करने से क्या हो सकता है। यूरिन का इन्फेक्शन हो सकता है, फंगल इन्फेक्शन हो सकता है, एंड इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ बैक्टीरिया इनटू द यूरेथ्रा यूटीआई कॉज करेगा बहुत लंबे समय तक। अगर हम इसको ट्रीट नहीं करते हैं, इट डैमेजेस किडनी इफ इट लेफ्ट अनट्रीटेड। द नेक्स्ट, इफ यू डोंट चेंज योर पैड फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम, अभी चंद्रानी मैम ने इस पे काफी अच्छी और लंबी बात बताई। तो इफ यू डोंट चेंज योर पैड फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम, व्हाट हैपेंड? इट कॉजेस वेजाइनल ईस्ट इन्फेक्शंस, रैशेस, इरिटेशन ऑफ स्किन, dermatitis. Dermatitis means skin swells, turns red, it becomes sore with blisters, so many things. Growth of harmful bacteria may also cause genital reproductive tract infection, which damages vagina. This is the second point. The third point, in rural areas, the girls uses cloth, जिसका कि उन्हें साइज पता नहीं है, जिसकी उसे थिकनेस नहीं पता है, और ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन ऑफ क्लोथ एंड थाई, it leads to dermatitis. Fourth, using the same pad for long leads to bad odor. जैसा कि हमेशा बात होती है, गंदी जो menstrual blood है, it's a normal blood with endometrial lining tissues, उसमें कोई ऑर्डर नहीं होती। जब वो बाहर एयर के टच में आएगा तब उसमें बैड ऑर्डर्स आती हैं। अगर बहुत लॉन्ग समय से एक ही पैड यूज किया जा रहा है तो उसमें बैड ऑर्डर्स आ जाती हैं। एंड मेनी ऑफ अस डोंट नो व्हाट इन एन एफर्ट टू कीप द वेजाइनल एरिया क्लीन। वेजाइनल एरिया बॉडी के अंदर एक पीएच होता है, वो pH मेंटेन होना जरूरी है। अगर उस pH में अप या डाउन होता है, then it gives the atmosphere to grow bacteria. So इस चीज का ध्यान रखना बहुत जरूरी है। बहुत सारे वेजाइनल वॉशेस आते हैं जो हमारे प्रमोट करते हैं वुमेन्स के लिए, गर्ल्स के लिए। बहुत बार ऐसा होता है, बहुत लोगों को इससे इरिटेशन होती है, प्रॉब्लम होती है। उस समय आप स्टॉप यूजिंग दैट और आप अपने डॉक्टर से कंसल्ट करिए, बिकॉज वजाइना का अपना तरीका है क्लीन। हाँ, एरिया नियर द वजाइना ओनली ल्यूकवार्म वाटर और क्लीन वाटर विद डाइल्यूटेड सोप, इट्स सफिशिएंट। So there, matlab, it must to maintain the balance of the vagina. What is the always clean your vagina from front to back, because ki vaginal and anus opening is very near. So infection, if you use back to front way, so infection, bacterial infection होने के chances बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं. So always use front to back motion. And these are very small tips which is very necessary to know every girl. Washing your hands properly after touching the sanitary napkins. What happens? It leads to hepatitis B and that of yeast as well. So these are very small things which are necessary, जो जरूरी है, जो जरूरी है सारी सभी के नॉलेज के लिए बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. And you know one thing, that poor menstrual hygiene can also cause cervical cancer. 70,000 victims every year only from India produces this type of cancer. Cervical cancer क्या है? Reproductive tract का infection हमने पहले बात करी. Urinary tract का infection हमने पहले बात करी. जो menstrual unhygiene से हो रहा है, it may lead to cervical cancer. It's a cancer of the mouth of the uterus. So इन सारी चीजों की वजह से जो हमें बहुत नॉर्मल लगता है, थोड़ी देर थोड़ा सा लंबा यूज कर लिया पैड को, क्या हो जाएगा, बहुत सिंपल लैंग्वेज में आज मैंने ये सोचा कि बहुत ही ऐसी लैंग्वेज जो मैं आपको बोलूं, आप समझ लें और आप किसी को भी बोलें और उनको समझ में आ जाए. तो ये रीजन है जिसकी वजह से मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे अब की सेलिब्रेट करना तो नहीं कह सकते, हमने स्टार्ट किया कि इस दिन अवेयरनेस होगी, इस दिन सेमिनार्स होंगे एंड लोगों के अंदर हम एक जागरूकता फैला सकेंगे. बहुत शेमफुल है कि 21st सेंचुरी में जा रहे हैं एंड हम अपने शरीर के बारे में हमें जानकारी नहीं. तो इट्स वेरी शेमफुल फॉर अस. एंड देखिए क्या चीजें नेसेसरी हैं, ये जितनी चीजें हैं ये सारी चीजें प्रॉब्लम का है. अब वो टिप्स मैं बता रही हूँ कि हम अपनी जो मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन है उसको कैसे मेंटेन करें. सबसे पहले मेंटेन करने के लिए हमें क्या चाहिए? यूज अ सैनिटरी नैपकिन. आजकल बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, सैनिटरी नैपकिन है, टैम्पून है, मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स हैं. देयर आर सो मेनी वेज. जो भी आपको इजी है, कन्वीनियंट है, वो आप यूज कर सकते हैं. और जब हम अपने स्कूल और ये सारी अवेयरनेस हमें स्कूल्स में स्टार्ट करनी है, हमें अपनी गर्ल्स को बताना है और जिसमें वो कन्वीनियंट है. जहाँ पे हम अभी बात कर रहे हैं, जहाँ हमारी मैक्सिमम पॉपुलेशन रूरल एरिया की है, तो हम उनको सबसे पहले सजेस्ट करते हैं रीयूजेबल एंड वॉशेबल क्लॉथ पैड्स. रीयूजेबल एंड वॉशेबल, जिनमें हम फिर से यूज कर सकते हैं, वॉश कर सकते हैं. क्लॉथ पैड्स हमें अपने जो रूरल एरिया है उसमें किसी भी माध्यम से, टीचर के माध्यम से, आशा वर्कर के माध्यम से, ANM के माध्यम से, किसी NGOs के माध्यम से, अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम्स के माध्यम से, हमको ये बताना है कि आपके पास, हमें अभी जिस हम सिनेरियो में हैं, हमें उन्हें अभी ऐसी चीजें बतानी है जो उनके लिए सबसे आसान हो समझना और यूज करना। कॉटन का कपड़ा अगर आपके घर में अवेलेबल है, उसको वॉश, डिटर्जेंट से वॉश करके धूप में फैलाना है। सनलाइट, बिकॉज सन हीट इज अ नेचुरल स्टरलाइजर, नेचुरली स्टरलाइज हो जाता है आपका कपड़ा। धूप में आपको सुखाना है और उसको रखने का भी हमें तरीका बताना है कि हमें उन्हें ड्राई प्लेस पे रखना है, डैम्प प्लेसेस पे नहीं रखना है, जिससे कि उसको जब भी यूज किया जाए वो कॉन्टेमिनेटेड ना हो। सो दीज पैड्स, दीज टाइप ऑफ रेक्टेंगुलर शेप में 4-5 फोल्ड्स लेके आप अपने पैंटी में रख सकते हैं, या टाई अ बेल्ट अराउंड योर वेस्ट। बेल्ट मीन्स इलास्टिक और कॉटन बेल्ट, और उसमें टाई करके आप अपने पैंटी में, जिससे कि वो स्लिप नहीं करेगा, आप उसको यूज कर सकते हैं। ये सारी चीजें हमें अपने रूरल एरियाज की लेडीज और गर्ल्स को बतानी है, उनके पर्सनल हाइजीन की वजह से। एंड दिस टाइप ऑफ पैड उन्हें बहुत आसानी से समझ में आ जाएगा, कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव है, इजिली अवेलेबल है, इको फ्रेंडली है। आज मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे पे हम मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन की भी बात करते हैं, और साथ में उसको हम डिस्कार्ड कैसे करेंगे वो भी बात करेंगे। कुछ इसमें नहीं करना है, उसको आप इकट्ठा करके जला देंगे या जमीन में दबा देंगे, ये चीजें हैं। तो पहला हमारा हो गया रीयूजेबल वॉशेबल क्लॉथ पैड्स। कमर्शियल सैनिटरी पैड्स तो मार्केट में अवेलेबल है, हमारे जो अर्बन एरियाज के गर्ल्स हैं, फीमेल्स हैं, रूरल एरियाज में भी अवेलेबल है, तो ये हम सभी जानते हैं और हम ये यूज कर सकते हैं। टैम्पून इज ऑल्सो अ वेरी गुड थिंग। They are the type of absorbent that provides internal protection. They are kind of plug of soft material which is inserted into the vagina to absorb the menstrual flow before it leaves the body. They are expensive. Tampons are expensive. It's but it is easy to use. अभी तो क्या करते हैं कि सी स्पॉन्ज भी है, सी स्पॉन्ज टैम्पून यूज करते हैं, तो ठीक है, वेरी सॉरी। मैं कहना चाह रही थी मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स। मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स को हम प्रमोट कर सकते हैं, ये नई टेक्नोलॉजी है पुअर वुमेन्स और गर्ल्स के लिए। मैं टैम्पून से गड़बड़ हो गया, तो मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स यूज कर सकते हैं। मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स क्या है कि मेंस्ट्रुअल कप्स को हम रीयूजेबल हैं, सिलिकॉन रबर्स के बने हैं, जिन्हें आप इजीली फोल्ड करके और वजाइना में इंसर्ट कर सकते हैं। तो ये बहुत ही चीप भी पड़ते हैं और इनको यूज करना भी उन लेडीज को, गर्ल्स को बहुत आसान होता है और आराम से इनको यूज किया जा सकता है। I think they can burn up to 6 to 12 hours depending on the amount of the menstrual flow. So it needs to be removed and emptied less frequently. Reusable है, environment friendly है, तो cost effective है, तो ये हम इसको जहाँ पे हमारी सैनिटेशन की कंडीशंस गुड नहीं है वहाँ के लिए बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है। अभी क्या हुआ है कि हमारे जो मार्केट में सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स आते हैं दैट आर नॉट इको फ्रेंडली। अभी हमारे पास अर्बन एरियाज में हम ये प्रमोट कर सकते हैं एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली जो पैड्स हैं, दैट इज बैम्बू फाइबर, बनाना फाइबर, वाटर हाइकन, सो मेनी टाइप्स। मेरा फोकस मैक्सिमम बिकॉज कि अर्बन एरियाज में तो स्कूल में टीचर्स भी एक सेशन देती है, बट रूरल एरियाज में जो हमारा मोस्ट ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन जहाँ पे है, जहाँ से प्रॉब्लम अराइज है, वहाँ पे अभी भी नहीं है। अगर आप गांव में चले जाइए, कंडीशन इतनी ज्यादा खराब है कि स्कूल में अभी स्वच्छ भारत अभियान के तहत टॉयलेट्स तो बन गए हैं, पानी का कोई सुविधा नहीं है, सेपरेट टॉयलेट्स नहीं है गर्ल्स के लिए बॉयज के लिए, इंसिनेटर्स तो आप छोड़ दीजिए, डस्टबिन भी नहीं है जहाँ पे वहां पे वो अपने जो यूज पैड्स हैं वो डाल सकें। तो एक आप गर्ल का सोचिए कि वो या तो 5 दिन स्कूल नहीं जाएगी, या फिर जो वो एक शेम है वो उसका सेल्फ स्टीम कहीं ना कहीं अफेक्ट करेगा। तो आज इस सेमिनार के तहत और हम जितने ही एडुकेटेड क्वालिफाइड सिस्टम से जुड़े हुए लोगों से जुड़े हैं, हम इन लोगों के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि अगर हमारी आधी पॉपुलेशन कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम में है, परेशानी उठा रही है, इसका इफेक्ट उसकी मेंटल हेल्थ पे भी पड़ रहा है, तो इसके लिए हमें वर्क करना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है। तो ये मैंने बताया कि हम ये कितने सारे तरह के पैड्स यूज कर सकते हैं, उन्हें हम बता सकते हैं कि जो भी आपको कन्वीनियंट है आप वो पैड यूज करें। और जो छोटे छोटे मिथ्स हैं, नहाना नहीं चाहिए, हमने भी सुना है बचपन से कि पीरियड्स में नहाना नहीं चाहिए। देखिए हम हमेशा भी चंद्रानी मैम ने बात करी, अलका मैम ने बात करी, और भी नाइजीरिया से जो मैम जुड़ी थी सबने बात करी। देखिए पुराने समय में जो बातें कही गई हैं, बहुत इंटेलिजेंट लोग थे वो, तो वहां से हमें थोड़ा सा कोरिलेट करके और हमें खुद को सुधारना है। कोई चीज मत छुओ, मत छू, जिन्होंने कहा वो बहुत समझदार लोग थे। हमें जो हमारी महिलाएं थी जो एडुकेटेड थी, उनको वो कैसे समझाते, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा शर्म लिहाज ये सारी चीजें थी, इतनी स्मार्टनेस नहीं थी। छूना इसलिए नहीं था क्योंकि भगवान को तो हमने बहुत बड़ा दर्जा दिया है और बहुत सफाई और ये सारी चीजें, और आप इस पे बिल्कुल बात नहीं कर रहे हैं कि मेंस्ट्रुएशन और हाइजीन मेंटेन कैसे करना है। तो मेरे दिमाग में क्या है कि मैं तो वही पैड बार बार यूज कर रही हूँ, तो मैं तो गंदी हूँ ना, मुझे पता है कि मैं साफ नहीं हूँ। नहाना नहीं है, नहाने नहीं है के पीछे रीजन पता है क्या है? रीजन ये है कि वो बोरिंग के पानी से नहाते थे, बिल्कुल ठंडा पानी, और ड्यूरिंग मेंस्ट्रुएशन आपके बॉडी का टेम्परेचर 1-2 सेंटीग्रेड ज्यादा होता है, हल्का सा गर्म बॉडी होता है, तो उस समय आपको नहीं नहाना नहीं चाहिए, नहाना चाहिए हल्के गर्म पानी से नहाना चाहिए, क्योंकि उस समय सफाई बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है। तो क्योंकि आप गंदे हैं इसलिए उन्होंने छूने को मना किया, और जैसे जैसे ये सिस्टम आगे बढ़ता गया उसमें लोगों ने अपना ऐड ऑन करना शुरू किया गया। नहीं नहाना है कि पीछे शायद थॉट ये रहा हो, मैं ऐसा समझती हूँ, और वो फिर चीजें और जैसे जैसे समय आगे गया वो उसमें और अपना गंदगी और चीजें मिलती चली गई, व्हाटएवर। खैर, तो हम ये बात कर रहे हैं कि नहाना डेली जरूरी है, खुद को साफ रखना डेली जरूरी है। अच्छा, अब आपका जो सैनिटरी नैपकिन है, उसको आपको उसमें ब्लड है या नहीं है, आपका जो टैम्पून है, आपका जो पैड है, अगर ब्लीडिंग नहीं है तो भी आपको उसको चेंज करना जरूरी है, क्योंकि जब वो हमारे बॉडी में है कुछ देर से, हमारे बॉडी के ऑर्गेनिजम्स हमारे बॉडी से टच है, तो आपको वो चेंज करना रेगुलरली जरूरी है, एटलीस्ट 4 आवर्स पे, नहीं तो आपको स्किन रैशेस का, इरिटेशन का प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा। And regularly wash your genitals and make sure the blood in and around the vagina is effectively washed away. Not only that कि आप तो अच्छा फील करोगे ही कि क्लीनर है, but it also makes you healthier and protects your privates. तो जितनी भी बार आप अपना पैड चेंज कर रहे हैं, आप वॉशरूम जा रहे हैं, clean your area with simple water or water with diluted soap. That's it. अच्छा, जब भी आप बाहर जा रहे हैं, ये हमें हर अपने स्टूडेंट को बताना है, स्कूल्स में अवेयर करना है, जब बाहर जा रहे हैं, please carry spare napkins, tampons, whatever you are using at all times, है ना? अगर जब भी आप बाहर जा रहे हैं आप इसको लेके जाएंगे, एक साफ पैकेट में रखेंगे, और वेट टिश्यूज साथ में है, हैंड सैनिटाइजर, इतना चीजें हैं। अब आप जब बाहर जाएंगे तो आप अपने को सेफ फील करेंगे, कहीं कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी। अच्छा, अगर रीयूजेबल पैड्स यूज हो रहे हैं तो उनकी क्लीनिंग का पहले भी मैंने बताया बहुत ज्यादा ध्यान रखना है। और जो रीयूजेबल पैड्स होते हैं उन्हें कितनी बार यूज करना है ये उस पे मेंशन होता है। तो जितनी बार मेंशन है उससे ज्यादा यूज नहीं करना चाहिए। अच्छा, एक चीज और, जिन लेडीज को हैवी या गर्ल्स को हैवी फ्लो होता है, आपने अक्सर सुना है यूज 2 पैड्स साइमल्टेनियसली। नो, नेवर। 2 is not better than 1. जो भी हैवी फ्लो है वो 2 सैनिटरी नैपकिन यूज करने से बेहतर है आप फ्रीक्वेंटली चेंज करिए। एक सैनिटरी नैपकिन यूज करिए और फ्रीक्वेंटली उसको चेंज करिए, अदरवाइज इसकी वजह से भी इंफेक्शन हो सकता है आपको। और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात, जो भी अंडरवियर आप यूज कर रहे हैं वो क्लीन होना चाहिए, कंफर्टेबल होना चाहिए। एयर उसमें से ऐसा मटेरियल हो जिसमें से एयर पास हो सके, ऐसा फैब्रिक नहीं हो जो आपके स्किन पे रैश कर सके। और इस समय आपको सबसे ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल अंडरवियर, क्लीन अंडरवियर और चेंज योर अंडरवियर एटलीस्ट वंस और ट्वाइस, जैसे आप अपने पैड्स चेंज करेंगे। ओके एंड अच्छा, अब आज मेंस्ट्रुअल हाइजीन डे। अब हमें अपने सिस्टम में ये तो हो गया कि क्या हमें क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं, क्या हमें करना है कि क्लीनलीनेस रहे, हाइजीन मेंटेन रहे। अब हमें हमारे सिस्टम में क्या चेंज करने की कोशिश करनी है, हमारे भी माध्यम से, गवर्नमेंट के भी माध्यम से, एनजीओज के माध्यम से। तो इसमें हम क्या कर सकते हैं? सबसे पहला, सोसाइटी लेवल पे, कम्युनिटी लेवल पे, फैमिली लेवल पे, इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे अवेयरनेस करनी बहुत जरूरी है। अवेयरनेस बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है। हमें टीचर्स, आशा वर्कर्स, एएनएम वर्कर्स, इन्हें ट्रेन करना है जिससे ये हमारे स्कूल की गर्ल्स को, जो कम्युनिटी की वुमेन है, इनको एजुकेट कर सकें। गवर्नमेंट ने प्रोग्राम चलाया है जिसके अंतर्गत स्कूल्स में बच्चियों को सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स दिए जाते हैं। ये प्रोग्राम चलाना जरूरी है, उससे भी ज्यादा जरूरी है ये देखना कि क्या वो सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स दिए जा रहे हैं या सिर्फ एक बार देके बंद कर दिए गए, फोटो खींच के और उसके रिकॉर्ड बना के। तो ये इंश्योर करना बहुत जरूरी है कि जो भी गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसीज बन रही हैं, सपोर्टिव गाइडलाइंस बन रही हैं, उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कहाँ तक हो रहा है, रेगुलर हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है। तो ये सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है, क्योंकि वो जो स्कूल के बच्चे हैं, जो रूरल एरियाज के बच्चे हैं, जो महिलाएं हैं, उनमें ये अवेयरनेस नहीं है। तो अवेयरनेस, स्कूल में अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम होने चाहिए, एनजीओज के माध्यम से होने चाहिए, टीचर्स के माध्यम से होने चाहिए। जो हम आशा या एएनएम वर्कर्स को ट्रेन कर रहे हैं, वो सेशंस स्कूल्स में ले रहे हैं कि नहीं, दे रहे हैं कि नहीं दे रहे हैं, उनको सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स अवेलेबल बच्चों को हो रही हैं कि नहीं है। क्यों नहीं मैंडेटरी कर दे कि हर महीने आपको 5 रुपए के पैड्स हैं, क्यों नहीं आपको ये लेना मस्ट है। और अगर नहीं मस्ट, अगर वो बच्चा 5 रुपए के भी, ऐसी भी कंडीशंस हैं जहां वो 5 और 10 रुपए के सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स भी नहीं ले सकते, वहां पे हम उनको रीयूजेबल पैड्स के बारे में जानकारी देंगे, कैसे यूज करना है, बेटा आपने यूज किया कि नहीं किया। तो जब तक टीचर से जो, या फिर जो हमारा एनजीओ वहां पे है जो ये अवेयरनेस कार्यक्रम कर रहा है, उसके पर्सन से जब तक हमारे बच्चे इतना फ्री फील नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हम ये अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कराएंगे कि जैसे हमारी बॉडी के सारे सिस्टम्स हैं, ये भी बहुत नॉर्मल सी चीज है। तो ये चीजें बहुत जरूरी है हमें सिस्टम में अडॉप्ट करने के लिए। और क्या करना चाहिए, सेपरेट हर स्कूल में, हर पब्लिक प्लेसेस में, क्यों नहीं बॉयज और गर्ल्स स्कूल में सेपरेट टॉयलेट्स हों और वहां पे इजी एक्सेस हो इन मेंस्ट्रुअल एब्जॉर्बेंट्स का, सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स का इजी एक्सेस हो, वो उनका अपना प्लेस हो, इंसिनेटर्स हो जहां पे वो उसको डिस्पोज कर सके, हैंड वॉश, सैनिटाइजर सब कुछ रखा हो कि नहीं। अगर ये हो कि हाँ गवर्नमेंट ने किया है, तो क्या वो हर स्कूल में लागू है? क्या वहां पे टीचर्स उतने अवेयर हैं? नहीं है तो क्यों नहीं है? ये तो बेसिक नीड और राइट होना चाहिए है एक लड़की का या औरत का। दूसरी चीज कि वहां पे वाटर की फैसिलिटी कैसी है, सैनिटेशन कैसा है, तभी तो हम ये हाइजीन मेंटेन कर पाएंगे। अगर हमारे पास सैनिटेशन, प्रॉपर वाटर फैसिलिटी नहीं होगी, हम मेंटेन कैसे कर पाएंगे स्कूल्स में? और अगर आप जैसे कि मैम लोगों ने अभी कहा है कि अगर आप देखेंगे ना तो ड्रॉप डाउन इतना ज्यादा है रूरल जो गर्ल्स हैं, सिर्फ इस ये मेन रीजन है मेंस्ट्रुएशन। तो स्कूल ड्रॉप डाउन कर देते हैं, वो ड्रॉप कर देते हैं, नहीं कैसे जाएंगे 5 दिन, बाहर नहीं निकलेंगे। क्यों नहीं निकलेंगे रूरल एरिया में? ये सारी प्रॉब्लम्स की वजह से नहीं। तो हमें हमारे स्कूल्स में, हमारे सिस्टम में इस तरह की चीजें अडॉप्ट करनी होंगी। लीफलेट्स हम क्यों नहीं देते हैं? हमने वुमेन्स डे सेलिब्रेट किया, आज हम सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं हाइजीन डे। इन पे हम जितने भी लीफलेट्स दे सकते हैं, छोटे बुकलेट्स दे सकते हैं विद सैनिटरी नैपकिन्स। बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो बच्चे हमसे डिस्कस नहीं कर सकते, नहीं करते। वो कैसे कर पाएंगे? जब तक हम उनको ओपन नहीं करेंगे तब तक बच्चे हमसे बिल्कुल वो पढ़े। जब फ्री में चीजें बांटी जा रही है, अच्छा ये तो बहुत नॉर्मल सी बात है। टीचर, जेंट्स टीचर्स भी देख रहे हैं, लेडी टीचर्स भी देख रहे हैं, इसमें कुछ छुपाने जैसा नहीं है। आज नहीं बोलेगी, लेकिन कल जब उसकी मदर बोले नहीं मम्मा कुछ छुपाने जैसा नहीं है, स्कूल में तो सब साथ में सुनते हैं, साथ में पढ़ते हैं। तो ये सारी चीजों का हमें सिस्टम में हमें अडॉप्ट कराना होगा। अगर मैंने सफर किया तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि मेरी आगे वाली जनरेशन भी सफर करे। मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बीइंग अ फीमेल, बीइंग अ मेल, हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि हमारी जो आगे वाली जनरेशन हो उसका लाइफ हमसे बेटर हो, अच्छा हो। और किन किन क्या क्या परेशानियां हमने उठाई हैं, वो परेशानियों को हमको उनको सोल्यूशन देना है। वो तभी हो पाएगा जब इसी तरह का ओपन टॉक होगा, जब हमारे यहाँ आने वाली मेड हमसे खुल के कह पाएगी कि दीदी हमारे तो महीने चल रहे हैं, पैसे है या नहीं है, हमें सैनिटरी नैपकिन चाहिए, या हमें ये प्रॉब्लम है, या कुछ भी बातें हम खुल के आपस में एक दूसरे से कह पाएंगे। जब हमारा भाई अपनी बहन के लिए इजिली सैनिटरी नैपकिन ला सकेगा, जब सैनिटरी नैपकिन लेने जाने के लिए हमें काली पन्नी और पेपर नहीं ढूंढना पड़ेगा। इस तरह का माहौल हम क्यों नहीं क्रिएट? ये कहीं ना कहीं हमारी दूषित मानसिकता दर्शाता है और कुछ नहीं। अब मैं बिल्कुल लास्ट पे आ ही गई हूँ कि मतलब हमें क्या चीजें इनकॉर्पोरेट करनी है अपने स्कूल्स में, अपने सिस्टम्स में। तो ये अच्छा, एक चीज और जो हम मिस कर रहे हैं, जब भी हम मेंस्ट्रुएशन पे, प्यूबरिटी पे, एडोलेसेंट पे बात करें तो इस बात का ध्यान रखें कि लड़कियों को सेपरेट करके और लड़कों को सेपरेट करके ना करें। क्यों? दोनों को एक साथ बिठा के बात करें कि अब आप प्यूबरिटी में जाने वाले हैं, तो अगर मेल है तो उसमें क्या चेंजेस होंगे, अगर वो फीमेल है तो उसमें वो क्या चेंजेस होंगे। और बताने का तरीका ऐसा हो कि ताकि हमारे जो बॉयज हैं वो गर्ल्स की रिस्पेक्ट करना सीखें, उनके अंदर होने वाले फिजिकल और चेंजेस को एक्सेप्ट करें, उन्हें वो चीजें छुप के ना ढूंढनी पड़े, बुक्स में और नेट पे यहाँ ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं पड़े। तो जब तक इस तरह की चीजें नहीं होंगी तब तक हम नहीं कर पाएंगे। इस तरह के हर साल हम सेलिब्रेट करेंगे, हर साल हम अवेयरनेस करनी पड़ेगी, इसी तरह से करनी पड़ेगी। डूज क्या है, डोंट्स क्या है, और वो किस लेवल तक हम कर पा रहे हैं, उस लेवल तक जाके हमको सर्वे करते रहना पड़ेगा हमें। और लास्ट में हर गर्ल को अपने राइट्स, अपनी बॉडी के रिस्पेक्ट और केयर करना सिखाना हमारी और आपकी जिम्मेदारी होगी। इसी पे मैं आज एंड कर रही हूँ। जो भी आपके क्वेश्चंस हैं आप मुझे चैट बॉक्स में दीजिए, मैं उसको आंसर करती हूँ। और किसी को कोई भी डाउट हो डूज में, डोंट्स में, प्रॉब्लम्स में, प्लीज। थैंक यू वेरी मच। Thank you, ELN Foundation, and thanks all participants and panelists. Thank you.
ये
Thank you
देख
so much, ma'am.
ये तेरा
That
टैप
was
है ना,
very,
इसमें कर
very
दे, स्पीकर में कर दे, इधर इसमें कर दे, इसमें जाके बोल.
Thank you.
I will request Ms. Sumedha to please take us ahead from here.
Thank you, Bhavya. Dr. Jamaluddin Khan was supposed to join us today for a talk, but because of some technical difficulties, we are unable to connect with him live. So I'd request the keynote speaker, Dr. Alka Singh, to kindly take over from here. She has a few words to say.
Hello once again, everyone. Thank you, Sumedha. Since the space is created by Dr. Jamaluddin Khan, and as communicated by Sumedha, that the organization, the foundation has not been able to communicate Dr. Jamaluddin Khan, else we would have some more enlightened contribution as the other speakers have made towards making of the beautiful day in celebration of International Menstrual Hygiene Day. I heard some beautiful, kind of the voices that I could hear from the talk and the discourses that Dr. Meenakshi just made, and just flashed across some thoughts that helped me to find some observations from one of my collections, which is very appropriate, which I find as very relevant that I should bring before the learned scholars, speakers, viewers, and stakeholders. I would like to share with you all that I am soon coming with one of my collections of poems, and it is titled as The Colors of Blood. So, looking at the prospective session that has fallen vacant because of the sad story of the technological cliche problems that the foundation has encountered and could not connect to Dr. Jamaluddin Khan. I am here before you all to recite two poems, one in English, the other in Hindi, to beautifully conclude the idea to speak and come forward, understand the basic necessity of any woman in the society, how central to the family, society, and nation she is, and everything is colored therefore in red. The poem is titled as Red, and I'm going to read this poem from this collection. I say, the red, they said. The red, they said, gathered with a cause to build one more barrier of durate. The red, only red, they said. They take to the hut for cherishing the red into cattle's shade. Woman in red, and red from woman. The weather temperate and the cinders raged in red. Approach the hut, the red attracts the red. The death smoothers and lulls. With her visible working palm, plans fascinating and fashioningly red. They said, gathered with a cause to build one more barrier of durate, the red. Thank you. And now I'm going to recite another poem. As I shared with you all that I am coming with a collection of poems specifically on this particular important, sensitive subject that needs a lot of awareness, and yet women are awaiting to listen more and more in the upcoming, age. तो हिंदी में इससे अपनी भावनाओं को व्यक्त करना चाहूंगी। आओ बात करें छुपना और छुपाना क्या। आओ बात करें छुपना और छुपाना क्या। जीवन चक्र बना ये अविरल, जीवन के कण बहें बिंदु बन। इस पर चिंता होना क्या, इस पर फिर शर्माना क्या। आओ बात करें छुपना और छुपाना क्या। मासिक धर्म विषय संजीदा, मासिक धर्म विषय संजीदा, इस पर हो अब खुलकर चर्चा। मासिक धर्म विषय संजीदा, इस पर हो अब खुलकर चर्चा। आओ बात करें छुपना और छुपाना क्या। धन्यवाद, तहे दिल से सबको शुक्रिया। बहुत ही खूबसूरत विषय पर सबने अपने व्याख्यान व्यक्त किए, और ओवर टू यू सुमेधा। थैंक यू।
Thank you, ma'am. We will all be looking forward to your collection very, very soon. This brings us to the formal end of the webinar, and I'll hand over the mic to Mr. Kulwant Singh for a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bhavya. On behalf of the members of Ella Foundation, the Foundation Chairman and the Patron Professor R.P. Singh, and on my own behalf, I thank all the panelists for gracing the occasion. I also thank the delegates from across the country and abroad for their interest in this e-seminar. I hope you had a takeaway from this event. I wish to convey my thanks to the print and electronic media for devoting their time. I am grateful to our patron and founder member, Professor R.P. Singh, for his expert guidance in organizing this event. I thank everyone, whosoever has joined the event via any medium. Last but not the least, I, on behalf of the Foundation, express my gratitude to the organizing committee of this e-seminar, Dr. Muhammad Tariq, the convener, Mr. Veduri Jain, organizing secretary, Ms. Sumedha Divedi and Ms. Bhavya Arora, the co-hosts, and Ms. Anukriti, the rapporteur for the event, for their invaluable efforts. The e-seminar is now formally over. I thank you all for your time and efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sumedha, I think you have to continue.
Thank you so much for all your presence. Wish you all a very good evening. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you all the participants for being there.
Are we done? Veduri?
अपनी भावनाओं को व्यक्त करना चाहूंगी। आओ बात करें छुपना और आओ बात करें छुपना और छुपाना क्या।
Veduri?
Yeah, can you hear the music?
I'll stop the recording now.
फिर से वो हो सकेगी?
हम मेरे सृजन पर चलते, हम मेरे सृजन करते, हम मेरे सृजन पथ पर चलते, हम मेरे सृजन करते करते। सत्य सृजन है नश्वर जग में, आओ सृजन करें, आओ सृजन करें, आओ सृजन करें, आओ सृजन करें। हम अभिव्यक्ति साहित्य कला की अभिव्यक्ति हर क्षण ऊर्जा की अभिव्यक्ति साहित्य कला की अभिव्यक्ति हर क्षण ऊर्जा की चेतन है कण रोम रंध्र सब चेतन है कण रोम रंध्र सब आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें हम मिले सृजन पथ पर चलते हम मिले सृजन करते करते सृजन करे मिले विश्व शांति का सृजन करे मिले मानव हित का सृजन करे मिले विश्व शांति का सृजन करे मिले मानव हित का सृजन करे रुचि कौशल सुनीति का आओ सृजन करे आओ सृजन करे आओ सृजन करे आओ सृजन करे हम मिले सृजन पथ पर चलते हम मिले सृजन करते करते आत्मा की शक्ति अनंत है आत्म चेतना भर कर स्वर में आत्मा की शक्ति अनंत है आत्म चेतना भर कर स्वर में अपने को जाने पहचाने अपने को जाने पहचाने आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें आओ सृजन करें हम मिले सृजन पथ पर चलते हम मिले सृजन करते करते हम मिले सृजन पथ पर चलते हम मिले सृजन करते करते सत्य सृजन है नश्वर जग में आओ सृजन करें 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 आओ सृजन करें
Hello, Bedur.